Hello, everybody. My name is Mike the Rat Guy, also known as I Calls Him Like I Sees Him. And a couple things I want to get out of the way right away. First of all, if you are a regular subscriber, first of all, if you are, thank you. And if you're wondering why I haven't uploaded anything in a couple of months, it is because this has been a difficult subject for me. This particular topic, this video, this subject, I did a video on it about a month ago, and I was not in the right place emotionally to discuss it. And that is because this case took place in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Kenosha, Wisconsin is my home. I was born and raised in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I spent roughly 28 years of my 42 years of my life in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And while I no longer live there right now, I still have family and friends there. I am intimately familiar with the area where everything took place. I am intimately familiar with much of the town, and it's when I did this video, did an attempt at this video about a month ago. Like I said, I was full of anger and frustration and heartbreak, and it just wasn't the right time. I made the video, and I was very disappointed with it because it was just, I tried to stay neutral and just report the facts. I was not able to. I expressed a lot of opinions, many of which I still stand firmly behind, but I realized that's not why people would come to watch this video. So, the second thing I want to say is, because of everything I just described, I'm going to be talking a little bit more. I know that I've read the comments. I know I'm a talker. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad. It depends. I've heard complaints. I've heard compliments. So, whatever. To each their own. The thing is, I have a lot to say about this because, again, I'm from this area. And I wanted to start by giving some background around, related to this area, describing, sort of setting the scene, telling you guys a little bit about this this town, and kind of showing you around a little bit and letting you kind of get a feel for what this place is like, because unlike a lot of people, that you might see on the news, giving you comments or whatever, or news reports from people who are just, reporting because they don't live there, whatever, I am, basically essentially I don't want to say a lifelong resident, because I'm not, but I mean, I obviously have a dense history there. My roots are in Kenosha. So because of that, I'm going to be talking a little bit more than I probably normally would, and I know that not everyone wants to sit and listen to that. I know that a lot of you probably would just rather just skip right to the actual meat of the topic itself, and if that's the case, that's fine. No harm, no foul. Just look under the video for the the timestamp. I will put down when the actual topic starts, and you can go from there. For everyone else, again, here's the thing. Like, I know it's cliche, but you've heard it before, and this is true for, I think, a lot of people, if not most people. If you are not in any way connected to the area, you're not familiar, we're near it, whatever, where something major goes down, something happens, there is obviously a lack of intimacy. There's a lack of familiarity. There's a lack of geography. There's a lack of, understanding of, the community, lack of relativity. You can't really reference what happened there to anything in your own life, and there's a safe, comfortable distance. There is a disconnect between the things that you're seeing and, where you were sitting on your couch, in your home, whatever. That doesn't mean you can't still be affected by those things, but it's one of those things to where again, it's cliche, but you always hear it, that can never happen here. Thank God I live in XYZ, because that kind of thing would never happen here, blah, 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 until it does. Now, while I was not in Kenosha when the events in question took place, which were late August to early to mid-September of 2020, just this year, according to Wikipedia, they're ongoing, but if they are, I don't really hear anything about it anymore. I think the major things are over with. I certainly hope so. I still have family and friends in Kenosha. The events where the most noteworthy, some of the most noteworthy things that we're going to be talking about took place right near, I at one time lived literally a block away. Literally a block away, which I will demonstrate when we, get closer. So this hits very close to home. This was one of those things to where it was surreal to hear my hometown. My hometown is, it's fairly large. At the moment, I think it's roughly around 120,000 people. When I lived there, I think it was roughly around 90. I believe perhaps at its peak it was around 130 to 140. I could be wrong, but regardless, it's not a major mecca like, New York or Los Angeles or anything like that. So, while it is still a large city, it's not really a city that you hear anyone talking about. So to hear it on the news, to hear my city spoken about on the news as the latest place where horrible things are happening, where the president went to go survey the damage and everything, it's like, that's my home. I'm looking at footage and seeing streets that I recognize and seeing buildings I recognize and watching, businesses I recognize being pillaged and, burned. And it's just, like I said, that's why when I did this video about a month ago, I just deleted it. I couldn't, like I said, I know I'm a talker. I'm going to talk too much already on this one. But on that one, I wound up talking way too long, getting way too agitated, opinionated, venting a lot of emotion. Because there is a very strong sense of violation. Even though I'm not there, my heart still is. I know that sounds corny, but the simple fact is, I was born and raised there. My childhood was spent there. Not that I'm sure a lot of people are really interested in this, so I won't go into detail about it, but, I lost my virginity there, I had my first kiss there. I learned how to drive there, I've lost family members that are still buried there, not that, they wouldn't continue to be buried there, but, in other words, half my life is still tied to that place, even though I'm no longer living there. The fact is, I'm not so far that I can't go through there whenever I want, and it's like I said, it's heartbreaking. But what I'm hoping is that my perspective and giving you a little bit of background, should you be interested, will give you a little bit of insight as to what the place is like, to some extent, kind of like what the community is like, some of the good areas, the bad areas, some of the history, etc. And of course, I will be talking about the incidents in question. It's one thing to see, and I hate to use the term, but it is accurate, the mainstream media, CNN, whatever, anybody, Fox News, I'm not choosing sides here, discussing things from an outsider's perspective. It's another thing to have the perspective of somebody who was there. Like I said, not when it happened, though my family and friends were, and I saw plenty of personal photos and videos, and, heard their own testimonies as to what it was like. It was terrifying. It was a horrible thing. This whole thing was a horrible thing. Ridiculous. So, it just, I don't know. Like I said, I was hoping that maybe, again, for anyone who is a regular subscriber, if you're wondering if I was just another dumb rando who you subscribed to because you liked one of my videos or a couple or whatever, and then, you saw that nothing was posted, for the next few months or whatever, you might think, oh, well, it's that clown, I went and subscribed, and, he never even uploaded anything else. I never meant for it to be that way, but it has been a while since I uploaded because, again, when I did this last video, I was not emotionally ready. I realized that the wounds were too fresh. I was way too frustrated and hurt and upset and trying to, work everything out in my head. Facts were still coming out at the time, so it was a mess. So I'm hoping that now, and I'm sorry for this long preamble, that's why I warned you ahead of time to skip it if you wanted to. I'm hoping that in addition to giving something that hopefully some of you, will enjoy, I also hope that this will be of some education. I hope this will be somewhat informative to give you a little bit more information than what you would normally find just watching, people who have absolutely no personal, connections to the town or anything like that. So, without further ado, let's get started. We're 9 minutes in, so let's get started. Let's hope my mouse doesn't. My mouse is a little bit squirrely today. As you see there, we are obviously going to address those two things there, those two, I call them thumbtacks. I've gotten some shit about that, which is which is fine. I know they're like push pins. Google Earth calls them like, place marks, whatever. I just call them thumbtacks, whatever. I know that's inaccurate, but I don't care. We will, of course, be discussing both of those, because those two names, Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse, are names that you are probably familiar with. If not, maybe you're on this video just by accident or just out of curiosity. But chances are you know who at least one of those two people are. Kenosha, right here, as you see, this line right there is the border between Wisconsin to the north and Illinois to the south. Kenosha is the southeasternmost city in the state. Pleasant Prairie here is not a separate town. Pleasant Prairie is a suburb of Kenosha. And one of the reasons I know this is because, full disclosure, I grew up in Pleasant Prairie, right over here, actually. Right about, I'd say half a mile to maybe 2/3 of a mile away from the Illinois border. I grew up right here. I'm not going to pinpoint exact spots or anything like that, but, just for whatever, if you're curious, I grew up right around this area. Kitty corner from the Kenosha Drive-In Theater, which they might as well remove that because the landowner removed the theater. It sat there since 1949 and was there for roughly 70 years, but the landowner decided that, he wanted to make more profit and fuck this, city's culture and heritage and everything like that, and screw all the people who, picketed and begged to please let the drive-in stay there. He destroyed it, and it's been sitting there now for like 5 years, just an empty lot. And it was. They were talking about building a Walmart there, which the town vehemently rejected because there is already a large Walmart on the north end of town, which replaced already the first Walmart that was built in town, in the middle of town, which Walmart abandoned to make the new one, and left it is literally a desiccated, overgrown, empty husk of a building. Grass coming up through the parking lot and all that good shit. Squatters getting kicked out of there, graffiti. Yeah, So thanks, Walmart. But, regardless. I shop at Walmart myself. Most people do. But, they were talking about building a Walmart there. The town vetoed it. And now there are some talks about building a low-income housing there, which some people... conspiratorial believe that, maybe the Walmart thing was a false flag. It's like, well, at least it's not a Walmart. Okay, well, we don't want a Walmart, but, low-income housing, whatever. But the southern area of Kenosha, the southeast here in particular, Pleasant Prairie, is a very, very nice neighborhood. A very nice just area. Calm, quiet, a lot of tree-lined streets. Over here is one of the town's major schools, Tremper High School. Nice, parks and stuff like that. This area down here is very nice and quiet. My neighborhood in particular. To be fair, let's see. Right here is the. All right, hang on. Let's give you a little. Let's show you around a little bit because there's so much to talk about. Okay, Kenosha. These other areas, these are suburbs. Summers, that's a suburb, that's a county of Kenosha. Kenosha is, when I was a kid, Kenosha was roughly, this area, right here. The lowest end, I'm sorry, down here, my apologies. Kenosha was roughly from around here, along that highway there to the Illinois border. That was roughly where, what the boundaries of Kenosha more or less were. Now Kenosha is literally the entirety of this border here. Kenosha has grown roughly almost double in size since I was a youth. On the right here, on the right-hand side, we have Sheridan Road, which I mentioned because that's going to come up again. Sheridan Road, which runs more or less parallel to the lake. That, of course, is Lake Michigan. It goes all the way through town and down into Illinois. That is essentially, although not in totality, that is kind of more or less sort of like the mark of the eastern border of Kenosha. What used to be the western border of Kenosha was Green Bay Road, which is this highway here. It used to be a 2-lane road until in 2000, when there seemed to be an initiative to really build the town up. That's when I think a lot of things really started boosting Kenosha into, kind of like, twice the size that it was when they expanded Green Bay Road to be a 4-lane highway, and the town started growing further and further towards the west, to where now, rather than Green Bay Road being the boundary, I mean, literally when I was a kid, this was this area over here was fields. It was literal fields. There's a power plant in this general area, and you could see it from driving around this road here. But now there are loads and loads and loads of huge hospitals, huge apartment complexes, massive shopping centers, grocery stores, etc., that go all the way now to Interstate 94. That is now the western edge. As you see, if you look a little bit closer, east side of I-94, a whole lot of shit. West side, mostly fields. So, yeah, Kenosha's grown up quite a lot. Kenosha, it's also very much worth noting, this is relevant, Kenosha is about 30 miles south of Milwaukee to the north, and about 45 miles north of Chicago to the south. So Kenosha is kind of really the bridge between two major meccas, which unfortunately are known in large part for their crime. And Kenosha has, I think it's very fair to say this, I don't know if individual specific statistics bear this out, but when you live there and you just see certain types of people, certain types of behavior, you hear a little bit more about shootings and shit like that, Kenosha has dwindled over the last 10 to 15 years, maybe 10 to 20 at the most. Kenosha has it has grown in size and become much more of a rat race, and it has grown also, it has attracted more crime. Gangs and shit like that have kind of encroached from those two cities. People from Illinois come to Kenosha to buy up the cheaper property because, there's, lower property tax, lower tax in general, and then they commute to Illinois, so there's, increased traffic on the highways, that kind of thing. It's not the town it was when I used to live there. But regardless, there's a lot in Kenosha that's still fantastic. Kenosha, which began as a town called Southport, began right over here on the, the port area of town, hence the name, Southport. And, as has been the story so far, basically just kind of expanded in a bubble, in every direction, primarily west. That area there is pretty nice. That is eastern downtown. There's a beautiful marina right here. A nice little park, a very nice several blocks worth of wealthy apartments, a large senior citizen center, some parks. The harbor side here is beautiful. We have a lighthouse, a nice beach. It's really actually pretty great. Very nice area. And again, the further south here you go, southern Kenosha is southern southeastern Kenosha is actually rather nice. That right there is a large graveyard, in case you're wondering what that is. Yeah, this area down here is actually pretty nice. Similarly, western Kenosha is where all the wealthy and busy, there's been a lot of economic booming, as I said, on the west. I'm sorry, that was my mistake. We're talking about over here. On the far west end, see, I was a little bit confused. That's where Kenosha used to stop. Now Kenosha stops way over here. On this western end, you can't tell just from looking at it from the map, but a massive glut of commercial and industry, a lot of residential up here on the north side. This is a huge, hundreds of acres worth of, fancy apartments and stuff like that, as you saw, Aurora Healthcare Center. The far western edge of Kenosha is also very high-end, very, very busy, very heavily trafficked, but still very nice. Northwestern Kenosha, same story. Northwest is over here, as you see, it kind of derives out a little bit. To me, I guess you can just call it northern. This, to me, is still northwestern Kenosha, because as you see, again, it's on the road that used to be the Northwest. Up here we have Petrifying Springs Park, which is a huge, beautiful park, right next to the University of Wisconsin, Parkside, right there. The north side of Kenosha, very nice. Very nice up here. Very, very, very beautiful area up here. Very great territory. Now, when you get more in the middle of town, any fellow Kenoshan who might happen to be watching this knows that, roughly around this area here is basically Kenosha's ghetto. It's been that way since literally the 60s, when the mayor of Kenosha actually was quoted in the Kenosha News as saying that he would not enter a specific area that was right around here in the middle of the ghetto without a loaded gun. The mayor himself was quoted as saying that he would not go to a part of his own town without a loaded gun. This area, right around in here. This is actually kind of about the southeast end of the ghetto, right around here, and it goes roughly around here. This is kind of this circle right here, not the best part of town. In general, the area between 52nd Street right there and 60th Street right there, that's kind of really some of the shittier part of town. And we'll get to that. This big gap here used to be an American Motors, which, as you see now, is nothing but rubble. That was closed down. I don't know what the story is there. I was not in town when it happened, but I was stunned to see that was gone. That was a Kenosha landmark for decades. Kenosha is a proud Italian town. Kenosha is home to countless, I can't think of the word, not vintage, not natural, I'm sorry, I know the word, but for some reason it's eluding me right now, but Kenosha is home to a lot of legitimate, homegrown, mom-and-pop Italian restaurants, Italian cuisine, delicious Italian cuisine. Luigi's is my favorite restaurant in the world. It's in Kenosha. Carl's Pizza is the best pizza I've ever had. Carl's Pizza, Villa di Carlo's, they're over here on the eastern side, near the lake. A lot of mom-and-pops businesses in general. Kenosha is the kind of town where, again, it sounds cliche, but it really is. It's getting a little bit kind of more debatable these days, but Kenosha really is a town where you can raise a family. You can grow up. You can grow old and raise kids and be happy, and then have them continue on your legacy. And there are countless businesses and homes in Kenosha that have been around for multiple generations. That doesn't mean that it's all wonderful and flowery and roses. Kenosha has also been host to lots and lots of murder for many years. Kenosha is not what I would consider to be traditionally a violent city, more so than, again, certainly not notorious for its violence like Milwaukee and Chicago. And that's not me being biased, that's just fact. However, that's not to say there hasn't been violence in Kenosha, like with many other towns, really any other town for the most part, ever since its founding. It began as Southport. I can't remember if I mentioned that. Google Earth has crashed on me a couple of times tonight, so forgive me if I repeat myself. It's kind of getting difficult to know what I've said before Google Earth crashed, and I had to do another take. So again, I apologize if I've said this already. I'm just trying to do my best and regale you with stories of what this is. But yes, Southport, now that I do remember I said this already, Southport started over here and moved west. And Southport was the original name of the city, and it was eventually, I do not recall exactly when it was founded, but I believe it was actually commemorated as a town, as an actual official city, in 1849 or 1850. I believe at that point it was being called Kenosha, but I could be wrong. I don't quite remember. I know the answer, but off the top of my head, I honestly just don't quite remember. One thing that is worth noting, let's see. Let me take a look here, see how quickly I can find it. Yes, okay. Kenosha, or rather, I'm sorry, Wisconsin does not have the death penalty. I can tell you specifically why Wisconsin does not have the death penalty, and why, for example, Dahmer was not sentenced to death. Wisconsin was home to a man named John McCaffrey, who lived right here. And I know this probably means nothing to you guys, but just out of curiosity, again, a little bit of, again, I'm giving you some perspective from somebody who used to live here. Let's go past this strange little building, Kenosha Alpine Club. I don't know what that is. But anyway, it's a little bit too fuzzy, this photography that was taken here in apparently 2007. But this is, maybe that might be the sign right there. This is designated a Wisconsin Historical Society. A Wisconsin Historical Site. John McCaffrey lived here in this home on the corner and murdered his wife in the backyard. His wife, Bridget, I don't remember what the problem was. There was some kind of argument, and he strangled / suffocated / drowned her in a cistern in a well somewhere here in the backyard. Now, what happened was John McCaffrey was, found guilty. I don't want to say obviously, because there have been, people like, I don't know, OJ, and I could list many other people, Casey Anthony, who have gotten away with murder, but whatever. In this particular case, John McCaffrey was correctly apprehended and tried and found guilty. The judge was pretty harsh and, said, basically you're a miserable bastard and, you sat there, squeezing the life out of somebody with your bare hands and that's a terrible thing and you're going to die. And so he was sentenced to death and, we were right about here. And no one knows exactly where the area was where he was hanged. There's debate as to where exactly it was. Local historian Arlen Day seems to be the expert on all things John McCaffrey, who is buried, in fact, in the cemetery I mentioned, right around in this area right here. But regardless, no one knows exactly where the hanging tree was. There are a few different... It's funny, you would think, because there was a huge circus-like atmosphere. There have been a couple of minor books written about this. There were hundreds, if not thousands of people. Basically, the whole town came to attend this hanging. Yet still no one knows exactly where it was, which is interesting. But regardless, I mean, it was kind of like on the outskirts of town, which, back then would have been like, probably not too far from McCaffrey's own house. Anyway, what happened was they botched it. For whatever reason, instead of having a trapdoor mechanism, I believe, John McCaffrey was hoisted. He was hung upwards. And rather than having his neck snap, the crowd got to watch John McCaffrey suffocate and gag and struggle and kick and jerk and twitch for literally about 10 or 15 minutes, to the point to where literally there were several times where he stopped moving and the coroner went over to check his pulse and found that he was not yet dead. So they had to just leave him there and let him just suffer until he was dead. He deserved death, of course, for killing his wife. I am in favor of the death penalty. It is what it is. I'm going to try to make that my most controversial statement. I don't want to get into any other bullshit. I don't think anyone deserves to die the way he did. It's poetic that he was essentially strangled to death just like his wife was, but that's not what... Some people would call it justice, and that's fine, but that's not what was supposed to have happened. So because it was botched, the townspeople were horrified, the city was horrified, the council, etc. So it was decided right then and there that Kenosha's the whole state's first and last death would be the last. And because of that, Wisconsin no longer has a death penalty. Not in 60, 70 years, or however long it's been, not since that time has there ever been another death. We have not had the death penalty since that one botched execution in 1850 or thereabouts. So, a little bit of backstory for you. Additionally, I mentioned that beautiful park, Petrifying Springs, which, I'm not going to, zoom in and show you what it looks like or whatever, but it really is a great place. It is a very nice, very, very beautiful place. Lots of acreage, lots of, gorgeous. Look online for Petrifying Springs, Wisconsin. You'll see people riding through, doing bike trails with GoPros. You'll see people using drones to, show you how beautiful the woods look in the fall and so forth. Again, we have University of Wisconsin Parkside over here, just immediately southeast of it. Over here we have a large forest, and the forest is marked along the Parkside Road with several signs that actually say, basically, just as I explain this, let me look and see if I can spot one. They say basically, hey folks, don't go into these woods at night alone, because that's a bad idea. These woods are dense. Don't fuck around. Well, nope, unfortunately not seeing one there. And I know there's a path there, so unfortunately. And, sadly, zooming, or moving along on Google Earth takes a very long time here. So, but yeah, there's a path right over here, and I'm wondering why I'm not seeing a sign yet saying, hey folks, play it safe. Don't be a dead college student. I want to find at least one sign to make it worth it, to have, warranted my having come down here in Street View, but I don't think I'm going to find one. which is a real bummer. Man. I mean, not that it really matters. Here we go. There we go. Oh. Or is that just a tree limb? Or a tree trunk? That looks like just Here we go. All right, that's a sign. What's that say? Because, I mean, again, I know you guys clicked on this for this, right? I don't know. Just that's probably just a speed limit sign. Oh, fuck it then. Fine. Don't believe me if you don't want to. It's fine. Just trust me. Or not. Whatever. My cousin and I, who used to live right around that area, at one time for myself and for a long while for him, we took great joy in going into Petrifying Springs in the middle of the night. And it's, the park closes at like 10 o'clock, so no, we were not supposed to be there. And we would cut through right here and go through the woods and go up here, and it's pretty dense up in this area, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we had some strange things happen. I'm not going to say ghosts or aliens or monsters or anything like that, but we had some odd encounters. We're talking like... weird shit like you think you're alone and you're out there for like an hour just dabbering, and then suddenly like a flashlight beam comes out of the woods pointed straight at you, and just weird shit like that. It's creepy. Weirder still is that in roughly 1981, right here on the northeast corner of the park, at the southeast corner of what is known as the Horseshoe Road, the top portion of Petrifying Springs, a headless, limbless torso was found. I believe it was also drained of blood. It was not killed there. It was dumped there. And it had a concave chest that its family was able to use to identify the torso as their son. It was a gay drifter. And because of that, 10 years later, when the Dahmer case broke out, just about 25 miles north, Dahmer was asked about it, and he, denied any involvement. There was also no direct evidence linking him to it, and while it was sort of his MO, it fit more accurately the MO of another serial killer who... I know his name, I would recognize it if I saw it, but it currently eludes me. If you look at like the Smoking Gun or something like that, or just simply type up Kenosha serial killers, you'll find him. No, it's not Alton or Anton Coleman. That was another. He was a spree killer, black, which is pretty rare, but he was a black spree killer who came through and killed a bunch of people. So we have that happening in Kenosha. Additionally, I mean, there's again, Kenosha's not, for a big city, like I said, the crime rate is not, what it is in places like Milwaukee or Chicago. I reiterate that. But, Kenosha is not free of, its own dark history. Down, let's see if I can find it. If not, it's not the biggest deal, but I'm just kind of curious here. Yes, right here. I know you have no frame of reference, but let me just zoom out and hope Google Earth doesn't crash on me again. But yeah. Right here, not too far from Illinois, just off of Interstate 94, right here is where, if you're curious, this is like, again, the western edge of Kenosha, which did not used to exist when I was a kid. There's a massive, that's a grocery store right there. It's the size of like a super Walmart, and it's just a grocery store. Woodman's, and, yeah, there we go. And, if you're curious at all to, look any of this up, because some of these cases are actually very interesting. The torso case is interesting. Look up just simply Kenosha torso or Kenosha Petrifying Springs torso. You'll find out all kinds of information. Right here, what happened was there was a Shell gas station in the mid-'80s. And another small-time serial killer, it's kind of ghoulish to say that, but I mean, we're not keeping score, but, he didn't kill many people. But a man by the name of Luigi Aiello and his fellow accomplice, Spriggy Hensley, no, I'm not making those names up, they were doing some illicit drug dealing, drug trading, etc. And Luigi had already, from what I understand, killed a couple of people, I think in like Arizona and at least one other state. And there was a botched drug deal here at the Shell gas station. And when it didn't go well, the employees of the gas station were beaten, I believe with baseball bats, either to death or very close to it. And the Shell gas station was then set on fire. And as you see now, nothing is there. Nothing has ever been there. It's actually rather eerie knowing that throughout my entire life, this was for a little while in my life a gas station, and ever since then it has been nothing but grass, nothing but a field. People who know, city, infrastructure and so forth, commercial zoning, whatever, they might know. I'm sure they would know more about this than myself, but it seems as if, I don't know if it's like toxicity levels, whatever, but it seems like whenever a gas station or something having to do with that kind of thing, chemicals, whatever, is destroyed or seeps into the ground or whatever, it seems as if it does permanently remain undeveloped from that point forward. I don't know. In Kenosha, that seems to be the case. But anyway, yeah. Again, Luigi Aiello, like Danny Aiello, except Luigi. If you Google his name plus Kenosha, you will find all about that. Again, it's an interesting case, a very controversial Kenosha case, controversial moment in Kenosha history because, in part, because one of the victims who was beaten to death in this, and burned in this botched drug deal was the nephew of the sheriff, which was the sheriff actually who, in fact, was called in to investigate. So that was fucked up. Across the highway, this used to be called the Factory Outlet Mall. Which was huge in the late 80s, early 90s. As you see, it is now a empty, nasty parking lot. Gurney Mills of Illinois, a wonderful mall, put it out of business. I wasn't being sarcastic. Gurney Mills is great, but it put the factory outlet here out of business. It's about a 5-10 minute drive between the two. Also, north of Kenosha is the town of Racine. Some people pronounce it Racine, or Racine, not Racine, and they're probably correct, but I just grew up calling it Racine. Racine is immediately north of Kenosha. That's the Kenosha-Racine line right there. And Racine has a mall called the Regency Mall, which, again, when I was a child, was awesome and is now not. For example, Racine, the city itself, I don't have a whole lot of positive things to say about it from the area that I have gone through. I'm not speaking for everything I'm not speaking for everything and everybody in Racine, but the town itself seems to have deteriorated quite a bit since when I was a kid, to the point where, for example, in the parking lot of Racine, the Regency Mall, in the mid-2000s or 2010s, there was a carnival. And somehow there was gang violence and gunshots at a fucking carnival. Just, seriously? So, yeah. Racine, I'm sure, has some nice areas, but this main road, Sheridan Road, again, that's going to come into focus very shortly here. Sheridan Road, lots of businesses, lots of commercial, zones, lots of, there's a Best Buy over here, a bookstore, all kinds of stuff like that. Nonetheless, it seems like the area surrounding that is getting pretty decayed. I choose not to spend a lot of time in Racine. And then, of course, these are some suburbs here, Caledonia, Mount Pleasant, and again, if you move just a little further north, we have Milwaukee. Let me see if I can show you where Dahmer was. I know this looks like a long... what am I doing? I'm going way past it. Milwaukee, though it might look like kind of a ways, Milwaukee is actually only about a 20 to 30 mile... I think I did the Google Earth ruler and checked from house to house, from door to door. My childhood home on the south end of Kenosha, way down here, all the way up here to Dahmer's apartment was, I think, literally, as the crow flies, like a straight 30 miles. So that's about a 20-minute drive between Kenosha and Milwaukee if you take Interstate 94. So because of that, let me see if I can just really quick, off the top of my head, show you where Dahmer's apartment was. Let's see. Yes, here we are, right here, actually. Kind of surprised I was able to do that. Right here were the Oxford Apartments, where Dahmer committed his crimes. This is the alleyway where Conrad Synthesum Phone was found bleeding, and Dahmer convinced the cops to let him bring him back inside and kill him, in so many words. These are not the Oxford Apartments. I'm not sure what apartments those are. The Oxford Apartments used to occupy this blank, empty space. By all means, feel free. In fact, I encourage you. I will do one of these on Dahmer, but just as a quick stop, for your curiosity, this is where he committed his crimes, the majority of his crimes. The Oxford Apartments were right here. And one of the reasons I know this, having lived in Kenosha, very adjacent to Milwaukee when the Dahmer case broke, I'm very familiar with it. It was, around the news, all around the clock. We watched the trial and everything. Additionally, the simple fact is, if you go east from Dahmer's apartment, which, as you see, was right here, if you go east about like 3 miles, you have somewhere in here, I'm not going to bother sitting and trying to find out exactly where it is, but you have the Milwaukee Museum, like right around here. And that is where I went. Oh, is that it right there? No, Milwaukee Police Department. It's right over here somewhere. Trust me. The Milwaukee Museum is a place that I went to a multitude of times as a kid, not knowing that literally, they fit on the same screen. It's like from over there to right over here, like 2 miles away. There was a guy killing and eating people in his apartment. And that's the kind of thing that when you live in Kenosha, that's I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that's the close proximity. That's I was able to find it just by looking at the map. So yeah, let me go back home here. Okay, and get back to Kenosha. All right, I could point out quite a few other things. One thing. And again, I do not believe I said this in this particular recording. In fact, actually, Google Earth just crashed on me again within the last minute. You probably saw a little bit of a skip there. That's why. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I have like 30 to 40 minutes of Google Earth usage before it crashes on me. And this is the pro version, so, very professional, Google. But no, I love the program, so it's fine. I just don't know what the problem is here. But anyway, and first of all, folks, if you are interested in this, thank you. If you are not, if you are stunned that I have not yet shut up about all this, again, I apologize, but look, the whole point of this was not just to talk about the crimes themselves, the Rittenhouse issue and the Blake issue, but my town, my area, just to give you some background of what this place is like, give you a little bit of, imagery and so forth, because again, you will not get this from just watching the news. Whether you care or not is up to you, and that's up to whether or not you skipped ahead and went to the timestamp. If you're listening to this, you didn't, I guess, in which case, thank you. Thank you for your interest. There was another major. There were, I'll be honest. There have been a lot of major crimes in Kenosha. Again, like I said, it wasn't on the level of any huge cities, but Kenosha has had its share of fucked up shit. The torso that I described that was attributed to the serial killer that was not Dahmer, it's still never been officially solved. So and likely never will be. Additionally, I can't quite find it. It's near, or did I just find it? Let's see. Is this the U-Haul area right here? No, Kenosha Flea Market. Somewhere near, bear with me here for a moment. No. There is an area near the tracks. Kenosha has several railroad tracks going through them. Going through it, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just not finding exactly the place I'm looking for. For some reason, I don't know this one as well off the top of my head. Military surplus. Is this the U-Haul? Yes, it is. Okay, I found the area that I'm thinking of. Let's see. Again, just to give you a little perspective here of where it is, where I'm talking about, right over here off of 39th Avenue. In 1967, a young lady, 17 years old, I believe, by the name of Mary Ellen Kaldenberg, Kaldenberg, was found. She left her home in an alley right near here. I believe it is. Oh, God. It's right over here. I think perhaps this one. There's an alley over here. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Which is literally known as, or was at one time literally known as Death Alley, because over the course of 10 years, 5 people were either murdered or found dead in that alley of numerous different things. I'll talk about that at one point, but anyway, she lived at the mouth of this alley, which it's getting tough to remember. I'm trying to. I'm sorry about this. Kenosha's changed a lot since I used to live here. Man. No, she didn't live that close. I think I got that totally wrong where the alleyway was. Or did I? Regardless, I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. I'm just getting lost in my own thoughts here. Trying to figure out where my old junior high school was, because that's very adjacent to the alleyway. Roosevelt Park. I'm looking for Lincoln Park, not the band, but yeah, we have a Lincoln Park next to Lincoln Junior High School. But anyway, regardless, yeah, I forgot that she was not left where she was abducted. Mary Ellen Kaldenberg was found in 1967 on Valentine's Day, if I recall correctly, in this area, I believe right here. I think right here. In what used to be a tall, fenced-off area that was a junkyard. This is now open. It is still sort of junkyard. I mean, you still see some like junky cars and shit like that, but I mean, this was like a literal junkyard. And she was found in an abandoned hearse. I'm not kidding. She was found in an abandoned hearse, beaten and stabbed a multitude of times, clothed, not sexually violated, but I think missing her socks and shoes, and with a large chunk of concrete placed on her abdomen, presumably to keep her in place, as perhaps she struggled to survive. A few kids found her, just out there playing in the winter snow, thinking that it was a dummy, and were horrified to find out that it was a deceased human being. And the case was, again, never solved. And to this day, there are sites out there. There's a forum, in fact, that I feel terrible for her family and friends. My mom, I found out about this case. My mom went to school with her. She was a friend of my mother's, and that's how I found out about the case. And my mom said, hey, when you're looking up crimes, which is something I would do, I would go to the Southwest Library in this town and look up clippings. The Southwest Library keeps files of clippings of various things related to Kenosha's history, and one of those files is a big bin of folders full of clippings related specifically to crimes that took place in Kenosha. And she said, when you're doing that, would you do me a favor and look up and see if that case was ever solved? And no, it was not. No one has ever, and again, sadly, will probably never be able to identify who killed Mary Ellen Kaldenberg. And it's sad. She just she left her home to go grab some soda or something from a nearby store, and then meet her boyfriend. And then her boyfriend never met up with her and was like, what happened? And the search was launched, and a couple of days later she was found, just disposed of. And it's just one of Kenosha's several unsolved cases. I believe here we have Lincoln Park. I was close. Yes, this is Lincoln Park, because over here we have Lincoln Junior High, Lincoln Middle School. I guess they call it middle school now. This right about, I think it's this one right here, I think. Or, well, no, that's really more of a road than an alley. It's either that one or like this one over here. Can't remember where, but again, one of these over here is an alleyway. I'm almost sure it's this one. Regardless. Again, look up Kenosha Murder Alley, and you'll find it. You'll find information on exactly where it was, and it was like right here around here somewhere. I can't recall off the top of my head. I would have to zoom in and explore it, and again, that's not what you guys are here for. But anyway, let's see. There was a body that was buried under somebody's bushes under a porch. Where a man named, what was his name, Thomas, regardless, he abducted a woman from Illinois and killed her and buried her in his backyard. That was one thing that happened in the back of the alley. Actually, as I describe this, let me look. I'm just going to see if I can, in fact, identify the alley. I won't be able to go down it, so I'm thinking it's this, I think it's the second one right here. Anyway. He was, he killed this woman, and, I can't get a good look back there, but I'm pretty sure that's it, that alleyway there. He killed the woman, I think he may have raped her, I can't remember, and then just buried her in the backyard here up against the alley. Additionally, a house was set on fire to conceal the corpses of, I think, 2 or 3 people who were shot. That also took place in the alley, or at a house that, abutted the alley. At the northern mouth of the alley, which, again, I'm pretty sure is this one. Forgive me if I'm incorrect. If you care enough to go look this up and you find out that I'm incorrect, I apologize. If it's not this one, it is immediately adjacent to this one. On the north end of said alley, a man was found frozen to death and beaten as well. He was beaten and frozen to death, obviously in the winter. And I think there was also one more shooting, or perhaps even another fire. I can't quite recall. And this all took place within a period of, I think, roughly like 10 years. But roughly half of the events I just described took place within like 2 or 3 years, I think, to the point where the residents begged the city to install lights, street lights back there, because otherwise it was dark. And people were fucking killing everybody back there, obviously. And, up around here. Yeah, so, and lo and behold, I used to go to this, Lincoln Junior High, which, now's the time to address this. Kenosha, the south side is beautiful. The south side where I used to live, again, my house was right around here. The south side of Kenosha, Pleasant Prairie, lives up to its name. It's very pleasant. It's very quiet. There's not a lot of crime. There has been crime. For example, I can even just zoom right into it. Let's see. Where is the little ditch? Let's see. First of all, plenty of people have this is the intersection of Sheridan Road and 91st Street. Plenty of people back in the day would take 91st Street and go flying, and for some reason not pay any attention to the fact that there is a very large curve, and they would fly off to their death. That's actually a gully. There's kind of like a little valley down there. It looks flat, but it is most certainly not. That's a drop of probably about 10 or 15 feet. And as recently as I think like 2016 or something, a man and his wife or girlfriend on a motorcycle went flying off, and they died. Several people have lost their lives in here, which is, again, right near my childhood home. Sheridan Road and 91st Street did not used to have streetlights, and so it was somewhat common to have accidents right here because no one wanted... I don't even think it was a four-way stop. I don't think Sheridan Road had a stop, but 91st Street did, and because people were, reckless, several people died here. So, there's been, lots of death around there. On the Illinois state line, again, I apologize for not remembering the guy's name. Lawrence Dalton, perhaps? Right here on the state line, it is now a gas station lot, but right here, he owned a home where he buried a woman under his house or in his yard or whatever, and I think it may have been covered with concrete. I can't recall, but that happened. That happened right in the late 70s or early 80s, I believe, somewhere around there. So there was that, again, right near my house. Let's see, there was a famous story, again, I don't remember the name, of a man that possibly murdered his wife over here in Carroll Beach. She was believed to have possibly been suicidal, but he was, I wish I remember the guy's name. They've had like Forensic Files episodes and stuff devoted to the guy. I just cannot remember his name, so I apologize. Again, look up Carroll Beach, Kenosha murder, and I'm sure that will attach you to who I'm referring to. Let's see, over here, there's where I'm looking. That's the ditch right there I'm thinking of. Right here, right there in that area specifically, a man killed a relative of his who had molested the man's son. Or nephew, I can't quite remember who. Man A had his young relative molested by relative, and Man A drove with relative over here, or at least, dumped the body right here, and, killed him for having molested his relative. They were all family, and he killed his family for having molested the younger part of his family. That like I said, the body was found right there, which again is, I actually walked past this route every now and then to go to school. Yet again, here's my house right down here. So this road leads to Southport School, because again, I'm sure you care, but just for curiosity's sake, this was the school I went to as a child, right here. Southport Elementary School. So, yes, again, not too far from Sheridan Road. So, Kenosha, here's the last thing I want to start to address before we start. I'm almost an hour into it, which is appropriate. I certainly did not expect to talk this long, and I apologize, but we're about to get to it. Kenosha, as I said, the south side, despite the fact that murders have taken place there and bodies have been found and everything else, as far as day-to-day crime, day-to-day, like, oh, there was a shooting or whatever, you really wouldn't hear about that kind of stuff down here. This is a pretty nice area down here. Similarly, the high-end business west side, the newest, by far, the newest area of Kenosha along I-94 over here, is also very wealthy, ritzy, commercial, rat race, packed with traffic, blah, blah, blah. You don't hear of a whole lot of crime happening here, except for, retail crime, stuff like that. And last but not least, the north side up here, again, that's where the beautiful park is. That's, in case you're wondering, that's a golf course in the middle of it. I hate that. Whatever, golf, whatever. I'll keep my opinions to myself. But all this beautiful acreage, you should have, families, you should have children playing there, you should have a goddamn petting zoo. This is all a golf course, and Petrifying Spring encircles it. But Petrifying Spring's beautiful. Look it up. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The north side of town, in general, Parkside, it's a nice school. It's, up here, it's nice. It's a nicely developed area. Right here is Wood Creek Apartments. I lived there in the 90s, in the mid-90s, some of the best times of my life. I lost my virginity in there, but anyway, I'm sure you care about that. Whatever, it is what it is. Not the happiest, well, whatever, it is what it is. That's about the most positive thing I can say about that experience. Regardless, this area, Wood Creek, the reason I kind of, sort of disavowed it is because it has fallen into a lot of disrepair. I don't know if it's ever gotten better, but that place turned to shit not long after we moved out of it in the mid-90s. I looked up reviews just out of curiosity, and it's like there's a lot of lots of gangsters there, people just fucking around and hanging out in the yard like slobs, and just crime, and shitty people that don't maintain the buildings. And there was a shooting there between two Asian sisters, which it can happen anywhere, but it happened there, so whatever. But like everything else around this area is actually really nice. There's a really nice, not that it's like a happy thing, but over here is a very pleasant graveyard that overlooks Lake Michigan. The majority of my family, in fact, I think all of my family is buried there. So that's where I have a lot of my roots. So the general story is that the corners of Kenosha are really pretty nice, quite honestly. And this is probably true of a lot of cities, but I can't speak for that because I haven't lived in many. But the further you close in to the middle section of Kenosha, the more ghetto you get. And when I say ghetto, I'm not referring to any specific color. I'm referring to the low property values, the abandoned buildings, which again, one of which is a Walmart, like I said. I'm right near it, so I might as well show you. Let's see. That should be right there, I think. Kmart, yes. Right here is the Walmart. Let me just drop in really quick right here and just take a look. Oh, you can actually... That's interesting. Google Earth has actually bothered to go up... I apologize. It turns out that something is being done to the building, apparently. But that used to be a Walmart, and as I said, it used to be... That was the only Walmart we had in town. It was built there in the late 80s, and it was completely abandoned. And, all these cracks had weeds and all kinds of shit growing through them, and this place was just, it sat, again, desiccated, which, to be honest, it still looks like it is. That looks like a bunch of, wood covering the fucking entrance to the building. Graffiti, squatters, etc. Now it looks like it's a U-Haul headquarters, I suppose. I'm glad that at least it's being used, apparently, for something. Yeah, okay, well, fair enough. Anyway, yeah, I will not bother, going through, town here to illustrate the point, because I would have to go quite a ways. This is a very long road. Don't let that, what you just saw there, the construction, that's just happenstance, that happens anywhere. But this road is 52nd Street, and 52nd Street... basically, from 52nd Street, I would say roughly from about 50th Street, which is northerly, Yeah, from 50th Street, roughly right around here, this general area, to roughly 60th Street, which is this main road right here, this yellow road going across here. This area, which as you see is basically smack in the middle of town, this area, not the nicest area. This is more or less ghetto. And again, I mean, dilapidated buildings. It's where you frequently read about shootings. It was like that before I left, and it's even more like that now. You know, spray-painted buildings with gang signs and shit. You have a railroad over here that is decommissioned and, you know, really not... You know, I'm not going to specify... Again, if anyone's watching this who lives in Kenosha, I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, your house right over here, you suck, whatever. It's just anyone who lives in Kenosha knows that this area here is the worst part of town. This area, formerly known as the American Brass area, which... let's see if I can remember where that is. Off the top of my head, I remember only the vague area, and again, Kenosha has changed so much. I think it's over here. I think this is it right here. It is, in fact. In fact, right here is a, not a penitentiary, but the Kenosha Correctional Center. This is one of the structures that was looted and destroyed in the events that we're short to talk about right here. And this area, again, this entire area right here, and stretching out, like I said, to a large extent, around here, essentially. The middle of town is basically the ghetto. And there used to be a company here called American Brass, hence the name, right here. And back, even as far back as I believe the 60s, when I was going through those newspaper clippings, the mayor of Kenosha was quoted at that time as saying he would not enter that area, the American Brass area, without a loaded gun. The mayor of Kenosha said he would not enter this part of the city without a loaded gun. And not a whole lot has changed. I had an uncle who was beaten and mugged right around this area, right here. My poor uncle, his girlfriend was murdered in this town as well. That's, you know, not relevant, and it's, you know, in another area. But yeah, again, this is just kind of to show you, to sort of illustrate this area right here. Roosevelt Road going this way is not too bad. But then when you get around here, you know, again, anywhere between roughly 50th Street up to the north, and right here, 60th Street. I'm sorry, up here is 60th Street, and the you know, kind of the surrounding areas, not very pleasant. Right about here, which, yes, the Kyle Rittenhouse scenario, we are going to be talking about it very shortly, I promise, is roughly the southeasternmost corner of the ghetto. I would say the ghetto is kind of right about ends right about here. It's about the southeast corner. Again, the American Brass area over here. And again, it's not, I'm not saying black, I'm not saying white. I actually was befriended by a white guy who lived over here, a really cool guy, a friend of a friend. He was white, so it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with just the area. You know, I would be lying if I said that this was not a predominantly black area, but I am going to let everybody else decide whatever they want about whatever. I'm not going to make any statements regarding anything. I'm only stating facts. And again, there are plenty of white people and Latinos who live in this town as well, so I mean, I'm not trying to say that anything is specific to any one particular person, color, whatever. It's just, this is the shitty area of town. So, bearing that in mind, let's now, an hour into it, start talking about the case that is why you clicked on this video. Okay, and again, if you have listened to the whole thing thus far and did not like it or were bored out of your fucking skulls, I sincerely apologized. I just, again, wanted to impart some personal information, some details as to kind of the pros and the cons, what the town's like, where, you know, I mean, you know, again, Kenosha is sort of a tight-knit community. Again, forgive me if I didn't say that, or if I did say this before, but again, Google Earth has cut off on me several times, so I can't remember what has been kept, what has not, what's been lost, what hasn't. But Kenosha is a relatively tight-knit place where major incidents don't happen. Now, shootings and gang violence, that is major, yes. And again, over the last 10 to 15 years, that's become much more of a problem than it used to be. And I think much of that is attributed to Milwaukee and Chicago. In fact, when Obama was trying to get I'm not blaming Obama for anything. I'm just saying that the timing, when Obama tried to get the Olympics to be held in Chicago, there were a lot of reports of a lot of the riffraff, whatever, the criminals, kind of sort of, scattering away from Chicago and moving north. So, that allegedly has something to do with it, and just, it happens, whatever. Again, just before I move on, Kenosha there's a lot to be proud of the city. There are a lot of beautiful places in the city. If you, I don't know what any person watching this might have heard about Kenosha. There are, like a lot of cities, some really shitty areas. Fortunately, in Kenosha, again, it's mostly kind of confined, not even that far north, actually. Again, it's mostly confined to the roughly center area of town, and essentially always has been. Crimes happen anywhere. Like I said, I showed you my nice little suburbs down in the south, and I pointed out, 5 crimes that happened down there. But, as far as just regular everyday shootings and shit, if that's going to be the case, that's going to be roughly around where I'm encircling right around here. Like I said, the 4 compass points: east, far west along I-94, south near the Illinois border, and north before you get towards Racine. Those are kind of the good areas, the best areas of town. The closer you get to the middle, the shittier things get, visibly, factually, etc. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse and Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake, for those who for some reason don't know, his shooting took place, again, let me just give you a little perspective, zoom out. Again, sorry for the squirrely mouse, it's a little bit bouncy. Way more than I want. I'm scrolling down. Thank you. It still moves in. Jacob Blake, the shooting took place in this area, which is really not a bad area. This is not a ghetto. Gateway Technical College is just north of it. There are several doctors, some nice apartments, dentists, and so forth. This is a decent area. This is not a bad, shitty place. So, that having been said, let me zoom in here and show you. If you look at the news footage, you will recognize this immediately. There we go. This is where Jacob Blake was shot. He was filmed from over here. Somebody living in these apartments over here filmed it, and they happened right here. In fact, this is almost, I'd have to go look at the footage, but I could swear that that's even the fucking car that was there. But anyway, this is where Jacob Blake took place. The story of Jacob Blake is this, and I'm just relating the facts as I know them. I'm not going to make judgments. That's for the rest of you to do. Jacob Blake was a black man who, and I say that because I am also going to point out that the cops were white. I'm not just saying he's black, so he's guilty and whatever. No, just the simple fact is he was a black man who he had the cops called on him in late August of 2020 because a woman called the cops saying that he had taken her keys and would not leave, and was her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, I think boyfriend, yet was not allowed on the property. So the cops came, and on the way, they, of course, looked him up, and it turned out that he had a warrant. He had a warrant for domestic abuse on top of, I think, intimidation and coercion, a battery, perhaps. I can't remember what, but he was not really a decent guy from the sounds of it. Again, I'm trying not to pass judgment. I'm just saying that he was not an innocent person in terms of, a criminal history. He had an active warrant, is what I'm trying to say. So, when the police got there, they saw several women as well as Blake, and though I myself have not seen video of this, I am not aware of whether or not any such video does exist. The video that I've seen starts with the police over here following Jake as he goes around to the side of the car. My understanding, all the facts that I've read, point to the cops having an altercation with him, because, again, he allegedly would not give up the woman's keys. There was apparently a lot of yelling and, to do about what was happening, and allegedly, I cannot confirm this, allegedly the police tussled with him, got him in a headlock. Apparently, it has been confirmed that he was at least tased, which had no effect. That usually happens when someone is on drugs, but that's not necessarily a guarantee. That said, if this is the truth, he was scuffled with by 2 white police, tased, And he then proceeded to head towards the car, which, again, I'm just raising my hands and saying it is what it is. Knowing that the man had an active warrant, the police pursued him. At this point, this is where the video that I have been privy to begins, and they're yelling at him, "Don't go to the car, don't go to the car, don't get in the car." He nonetheless goes and gets in the car. He opens up the driver's side door, and he very clearly leans in and downwards towards the whether it be the stick shift, the underneath the seat, the center console, whatever. You can't tell from the video, but he doesn't just go to hop in. He clearly bends down and appears to be doing something that is towards the lower end of the interior of the car. It is at this point that one of the police grabs him from behind by the shirt, fires 7 shots. 4 of them hit, not all 7. Not that matters in terms of the overall story, but just a correction that needs to be made. 4 of them hit, and he is currently paralyzed from the waist down. It is not yet known if he will recover. He, from his hospital bed, posted bond, but is still, as far as I know, set to face trial for the warrant. Or I'm not entirely sure. That's about where I know the Jacob Blake case ends. Now, here's the thing. There is dispute over whether Jacob had a gun. I'm sorry, not a gun. I apologize. A knife. There's dispute over whether Jacob had a knife. In some shots, some angles of the video, it appears as though he did. In some, it appears as though he didn't. It looked to me, just objectively speaking, as if that's what he was reaching for. And though the details, again, are not as transparent as I think everyone would like them to be, the simple fact is... well, I should, I guess, say it's fact, but it is alleged that a knife was retrieved from underneath the front seat. Jacob's children were in the car, and the cops, I'm not trying to defend them, I'm just stating, I've watched plenty of episodes of Cops, I've watched plenty of episodes of Live PD. The simple fact is, when you're going after a guy who has an outstanding warrant, and if... assuming that this is true, you have tried to contain him physically and tased him to no avail, and you have ordered him not to get in the car where there are children, and you don't know who those children belong to, and you're worried about him either doing something to the kids or driving away and starting a high-speed chase or whatever, you don't just let it go. It's not normal for the cops to then just stop and drop their hands and just say, well, shucks, man, he got in the car anyway. I will not defend him being shot in the back. I have mixed feelings about that. I think that the fact is he was a criminal. That is just a fact. I am not saying that the cops were or were not justified. I'm not going to make a call on that. Like I said, that's up to the rest of you guys. I'm not going to make any statements about that. I have different feelings about it based on different things that I read. But those are, as far as I know them to be, the facts. Now here's the thing. When this happened... most of this was not known. Most of this, I don't know why I'm looking at the sky here. Oh, Google Earth, you wacky program. What happened was, when this took place, I believe it may have been August 22nd. I don't remember the exact date, I apologize. It won't be hard to find. When this happened, no one waited for any details whatsoever. This is the part I have a problem with. Blacks were involved, whites were involved. For all I know, Hispanics, Asians, Russians, I don't know who was involved. All I know was that after news of the shooting took place, one thing mattered, and one thing only. A black man was shot by a white cop. That was all anyone cared about before hundreds of people took to the streets. It made the news rapidly. The news media is, if you go back and look, I don't care which side of this you fall on, the victims, the police, whatever, I don't care. If you look at the media, you will find that they love to stir the racial division. They love to stir the pot. They never point out black-on-black violence. They never point out white-on-white violence. They never point out black-on-white violence. They love highlighting whenever a black person is killed for any reason by a white person, especially if that white person is a cop. and just, it is what it is. I think, the reason why a lot of people have such inflamed emotions and why we are such a divided society today is because things are being played for political gain and political influence. And, I'm not saying facts aren't facts, but I'm saying that facts are abused and manipulated to stir emotions. And I completely feel that that's what happened in this case. I think it's blatantly obvious that that's what happened in this case. So that afternoon, shortly after it occurred, Kenosha started seeing crowds of people marching and protesting and, whipping up signs and, Black Lives Matter and et cetera, et cetera. During the day, there was outrage. Again, no one waited. There were cries of systemic racism and police brutality and everything like that before anyone even knew what the fuck happened or why. They just knew, again, black cop killed, black cop shot, white cop shooter. Again, I had family and friends there. I spoke to them, like, what the fuck's happening? I don't know what's going on. The news around here is just saying that there was a shooting. Well, what happened? No one knows. They're not saying. So why are there protests? Why are there a bunch of people in the streets? What's going on? Are there riots? Well, not yet, but it's starting to look like there's going to be. But why? I don't know. No one knew. But people just, like I said, people took to the streets without even knowing the details. And again, I'm not going to say that the details do or don't warrant protesting. I'm not going to make that call. But the simple fact is, people didn't wait for the fucking details. They just went out and, okay, well, I don't like that this happened, so it had to have been racism, so let's go out and, start protesting. Okay, fine. That's your right. However, that evening, the peaceful protests turned to riots. That evening, and you can look anywhere you want, I recommend you do some digging on YouTube. You don't just, again, go to don't go to NBC or Fox or HLN or any of that shit. Go to home video footage. Look at actual, on the street, footage of what was taking place in Kenosha. I'll give you an example. Over here, whereabouts are we? I'm a little bit north. Over here, we have a car lot right there. Some of you have probably heard about this. But we have a car lot, which, as you just saw me, was nowhere near the Jacob Blake shooting. It's just a car lot. It has nothing to do with anything. It's a car lot. Just a car lot that is, a good couple miles away from the Jacob Blake shooting. Let me quickly open up my internet here. Isn't that ironic? That's the north end of the car lot we're looking at as I speak. And as it burns, the church next to the car lot says Black Lives Matter, but that apparently didn't matter to whomever started this fire. When we go back to Google Earth, you're looking at that sign right there. Again, just to give you a little bit of perspective, let me, because now we're talking about the case, and I don't want to skim on the details of the case itself. Incident, whatever you want to call it. Google Earth has made changes that, again, makes navigation really fucking slow. Not that it wasn't super speed before, but, yes, there is a church right here. Kenosha is home to many churches and bars. I can't remember if I mentioned that yet, but the joke used to be that Kenosha was known as Kenowhere, which I think was very unfair. The restless youths of Kenosha in the 90s were like, it was, fashionable to be whiny and complain that life was miserable in the 90s, when in fact it wasn't. It wasn't as good as the 80s. The 80s were I could speak for having lived through them. They were the best decade that ever happened since maybe the 50s. Unless you were black, 50s weren't really the best time for black people. I'll definitely admit that. But yeah, people said that, Kenowhere, this place sucks, whatever. I disagree, but, whatever, it was funny. The other thing is that, again, I apologize if I've repeated this, but hey, for those of you who joined and skipped my preamble, my lengthy hour-long intro, you won't know that I might have mentioned that Kenosha was also, and still is, known for having, the joke of having a bar and a church on basically every street corner, which is really not that much of an exaggeration. And as far as Kenosha crime goes, lots of bar shootings. Lots and lots of cases of people getting out of a bar and shooting some guy who said something to them wrong or whatever. But anyway, as we turn around here, this is what we were looking at. I can't get in the parking lot to get the exact same shot, but right here is what we were looking at. And that's actually painful. You can change the world with your love. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this is why it was difficult for me. One of the many reasons why this was difficult for me, just seeing stuff like that. Can I move, please? Google Earth, thank you. Yeah, let's go back to the other side of the car lot. Move in just a little bit. Okay, yeah, right here. Let's see. That shot right about there. This was taken, as you see. I have something in front of my TV right here. I'm assuming this is July of 2019. I literally cannot see this last digit. It's either a 0 or a 9. I'm assuming it would be a 9. That's what the car lot looks like now. Because, again, I'm going to stay away as much as I can. I will not make a smarmy comment. I will simply say, especially as a resident of Kenosha who knows that this business was not owned by like a racist or somebody who is, there's a video on YouTube of people, I think, heading down this sidewalk, actually coming right to this area and bashing a bunch of these cars with baseball bats because they could. I don't know why any of this was relevant to a black man being shot. If it had been a white man being shot, I would be saying the same thing. Someone was shot who, at that time, no one knew the details of. They didn't care about the details. And yet, for some reason, they found themselves, whoever it was, found themselves several miles away burning down a car lot. Why? I mean, did this raise awareness that Black Lives Matter? Is it not inherent that Black Lives Matter? Is that not known to most people? I mean, yes, there are a lot of racists out there who are fans of, keeping black people down. There are certainly corrupt police. I will absolutely 100% get behind the idea that George Floyd was treated unmercifully. That was wrong with a capital W. But this, and I can understand, passions have been inflamed. This happened essentially because of the George Floyd murder. Death / however one wants to look at it. Again, I'm trying very hard to toe the line and not pick sides. But again, the simple fact is, what did this car lot have to do with anything? This entire area, this is Sheridan Road right here. Sheridan Road, let me go back to the map here. Sheridan Road, as I said, is blocks away, if not miles away. Only a couple, but it has nothing to do with Jacob Blake. Nothing. Right here is where the car lot is. Where the hell is the Jacob Blake thing? Way the fuck up there. What did that car lot have to do with Jacob Blake? What do any of these buildings, what does any of this town has to do with Jacob Blake? I can understand being upset that he was shot. I'm not discounting that. But when someone gets shot just because they're black, why is it just naturally assumed? I mean, you can say it's fact that it's racism, but no, until it's proven as fact, it isn't. Until you know the details, one cannot make a conclusion as to what happened. One does not even know what happened. And that was the case when that car lot was burned to the ground. Its crime was existing. It was there, so someone set it on fire. Let's take another look at my internet here. Our next shot, I tried to time these, set these up sequentially. We have here a face that should be familiar to most of you. That fellow right there is Kyle Rittenhouse. You'll be hearing a lot about him in the subsequent moments. He's clearing graffiti off of Ruther High School, which is the high school I graduated from in 1997. Ruther High School is about 2 blocks from said car lot, just north of it. This is it right here. Fuck 2 blocks. It's across the street. What am I thinking? That's the car lot right there. This is Ruther High School. This is, this is my school. It was a good school. I'm assuming it probably still is. It was host to a wonderful teacher, Jack Slavensky. I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Anyone currently knows who that man is. He's a great guy. It was home to Paul Kafer, who was literally one of the most wonderful men I've ever met in my life. One of the most genuine, loving, honest, truly good-hearted people I've ever known in my entire life. He was a teacher who, in 1996, early 1996, died of open-heart surgery complications, and was a Santa Claus of a man. He loved kids, his students. He believed in them. He encouraged them. He tried his best to educate them and make them better people and realize their potential. He cared. He was one of the good ones. I have traveled back to Ruther several times, and I actually gone to the dean of students, who is still the one that used to be there when I was there. And I actually said, "You probably don't remember me, but I used to be a student here, and I was a teenager, and like a lot of teenagers, I skipped school and was up to trouble sometimes. And I just, again, you probably don't remember me, but I want to personally apologize to you because I realized that you guys were just doing your job, and I understand now as an adult how hard your job is. And this is a good school." Or at least was. Again, I can't speak for it now. I have no reason to believe that anything changed, but I have a lot of pride in the fact that I graduated from Ruther in the summer of 1997. The dinosaur over here across the street, I'm not going to bother going all the way over there, but across the street we have the Dinosaur Discovery Museum, which was also graffitied and broken into and whatever, because I don't know. It just was. If there's any one building that I do understand, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with any violent protests that took place. If you want to protest, do it peacefully. This right here is the Kenosha County Courthouse. Right now, and in fact, coincidentally, if you continue down this road, you will be right by, you will pass under the railroad. See if I can get a better look at it. Just for your own curiosity's sake. Again, Google has made this so much more complicated than it needs to be. With these weird-ass fucking icons that go, like, what the hell? It used to be, just they'd point in the four compass directions. Yes, down in the distance there is a railroad overpass, and just beyond it, I think on this block, if not the next one up, I think it's over here, just beyond that railroad overpass, where the John McCaffrey house was that I showed you a while ago. Excuse me. And if you jump to the time code and you didn't watch any of that, go ahead and disregard it. But if you're curious as to why Wisconsin does not have the death penalty, look up Kenosha death penalty, and you'll find everything you need to know about it. But yeah, that took place, I believe, right over there. This area of town right here, again, this is the Kenosha County Courthouse. The Kenosha County Police Department is one building behind this one. It may also include that building now. Again, it's been several years since I lived there. You see we have some attorneys there and so forth. Let me zoom out. Again, while I do not condone violent action, I personally am of the belief, and I understand the counter-belief, that, you need radical violence and everything to make your voice heard. In some cases, that is correct. I do agree with that hypothetically, with an asterisk. In this particular case, in which, again, the full details of what even happened were not even known before things were being set on fire and people were looting from buildings. Literally, there's a Target and a Dick's Sporting Goods on the far west side of town that were looted because, someone needed a new pair of shoes and a new high-def TV to protest racial violence? Which was not even racially based, when in fact it was cops that happened to be white, shame on them, and, a guy who happened to be black had an outstanding warrant, and they were trying to serve it. Like I said, I'm honestly trying my hardest not to pick sides. I'm just saying, the town went crazy before anyone even knew what the fuck was happening. This is a fact. The only things that were known was that again, I'll reiterate, a white cop shot a black man. That's all anyone cared about, to rush through the streets screaming in outrage. And I get why, but that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it okay. Anyway, and again, like I said, there's going to be people who totally disagree with me on this. I understand. Yes, racism exists. I understand. Rodney King was brutally beaten, and I feel for the guy. What happened to him was wrong. The cops who did it were exonerated. It was wrong. That kind of thing I can, while I, of course, again, will not condone the riots of LA in 1992, I can understand them. You know, that was a little bit different. Heightened racial tensions, which Kenosha is not really primarily known, again, this is coming from somebody who spent most of his life there, it's not really known for a city in which there was a lot of racial hatred or tension. Milwaukee, sure. Chicago, yes. So some of that did drip into Kenosha, but Kenosha was not really a strongly racially divided city. Most people just coexisted. Sometimes, possibly, probably begrudgingly, whatever, but Kenosha was, you know, it's, I believe, 75% white, 10% black, and then 5% Latino, and then 10% other, or something like that. It's a melting pot. And it stayed that way for many years. So again, I understand. Believe me, I understand. I cannot relate because I'm not black. I cannot claim to fully grasp the depth of rage that a black person feels when they do see racism. And racism, it certainly exists. I would never deny that. Racist, power-tripping cops exist. I will never deny that. We saw one clearly, in my opinion, kneeling with his hands in his fucking pockets on the back of the neck of a man named George Floyd, who was clearly already restrained and didn't need to have a cop with his hands in his fucking pockets kneeling on his neck for 10 minutes. That's bullshit. That I can understand being outraged about. No fucking question. And again, I do get that piles into this. When this happened, I thought, oh God, no. Why? Why does this keep happening? Why again? Not as in, why do white cops shoot black people? Because again, I would be saying the same thing if it were a black cop shooting a white guy. Why is everyone going out to start fires and looting and shit? You know, why are the protests not peaceful? Why are people not requesting to meet with the mayor? Why, you know, what is being accomplished by burning down a car lot and yelling Black Lives Matter? Seriously, what is being accomplished when you protest violence and injustice by acting in a way that is violent and unjust? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on. This, again, is the Kenosha Courthouse, and this is where, on day one, the night, I believe, of day one, or perhaps day two, they rapidly erected a fence around it, because people were, and again, I said I could at least understand that in this case, they were targeting a location that was actually somewhat relevant to their grievances. The law, you know, okay, well, we're going to come to the courthouse and demand justice, and, you know, okay, well, at least I get that way more than I get burning down a car lot. I'll put it that way, or you know, spray painting a high school that had nothing to do with anything, you know, right there across the street, or again, breaking into the Dinosaur Discovery Museum, which, I mean, I'm not really sure what they had to do with anything, but that's what happened. Again, there were peaceful protests during the day. That is absolutely true. There were plenty of people, black and white, and again, Latino, Hispanic, you know, any variation of age, sex, you know, color, creed, whatever, nationality, who were not doing anything wrong. That is true. You know, there are plenty of people who didn't set fires, and who didn't break into stores, and who didn't use the claim of Black Lives Matter and various other, you know, sign-friendly slogans to use as an excuse to, you know, do illicit, illegal behavior of their own. There are plenty of people who did not do that. But on night one of the protests, plenty of people did. On night one of the protests, Kenosha was on fire. You know, multiple buildings were on fire. Like I said, look it on YouTube. Don't just settle for what the news says. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to say that Bush did 9/11. I'm not going to say that the planes were holograms. I'm not going to say that the Earth is flat. That's all ridiculous, and you'd have to be an idiot to think those things. If you disagree with me, I don't give a shit. You're an idiot. But you can't just... Again, this sounds paranoid. This sounds conspiratorial, but I have learned this because, I like I said, I know this town. I have family and friends there. I saw and heard things that are not normally communicated to the public on just the 5 o'clock news from LA or, Denver or whatever. You have to dig. You have to look at hands-on, the people who were actually on the scenes with their cell phones. You have to look at the fires that were raging out of control. You have to look at the man who was defending his business, which was on fire, with a fire extinguisher before someone ran up to him and punched him and knocked him out for daring to defend his burning building. What did he do? What was he guilty of, aside from having a business and apparently being white? I don't know. Why? I don't know. I'm not going to dwell on it. Point is, city was on fire. The cops are called. I think on night one, the National Guard were called. There is a lot of dispute, and I'm going to try to avoid stating anything that I don't know to be fact. What I have read seems to consistently suggest that the mayor and or governor of Kenosha / Wisconsin denied Trump's call for help. He offered assistance and for whatever reason was denied. I can't speak for why. I can't speak for if that's even true, but that is what I've read consistently. That is what I have heard. From the friends and family I spoke to who do live in Kenosha, that first night was chaos. It was terrifying. Their city was on fire. People were moving down, again, for whatever reason, probably because it's a major thoroughfare, Sheridan Road, and setting things on fire, like, again, the car lot. Now, really briefly, I want to mention something, because I've said before, if you skip the time code, maybe I mentioned this before I gave you the time code, whatever, it is what it is. There was a period in 1996 where I lived... oh my God, is it really that close? Yeah, it is. I lived right here. Right here. I mean, literally right in that corner. My window observed what was at the time the Kenosha News Building. Is it still? Yes, it is. This building here used to be known as the Kenosha Youth Foundation. The short story there is that it is an old building it was great on the first floor. The bottom floor had nice pools and exercise equipment and wonderful vending machines and looked like a great place. And they had cheap rent for people like myself who had just turned 18 and were basically starting out on their own until you paid your cheap rent and went up to go unlock your door and you realized that you had a crummy-ass room with a couple pieces of metal furniture, a bed that had no mattress or a flimsy-ass greasy mattress and yellowed 70s wallpaper with cigarette stains all over, and the place was there were 2 floors for males, 2 floors for females, and they were not allowed to intermix for what reasons I couldn't tell you. There was a lot of homosexual activity there, which I'm not going to judge. It just is what it is. So as a straight male, it was a little bit disconcerting. I lived there for about half a year, and within that half a year, I spent 3 days away for Christmas, and I came back to find that my room had been looted, and everything I owned had been stolen. I subsequently got most of it back, but I was not told who did it. Yeah, it was a shit place. It was a shit place. I don't believe it still is the Kenosha Youth Foundation. Is Library Square Child Development. I think that was there before, though. This may still be the KYF. The parking lot suggests otherwise, because that used to be the resident parking lot for the KYF. But anyway, yeah, I spent 6 months living there from roughly the end of 1996 to the beginning of 1997, and it was shit. But my room was number 444, which was up here in the far northwestern corner. Well, technically just over here, right over here. There was one other guy who lived across from me right there, a good guy. I made a lot of friends there. We all bonded over how much we hated the place and our situation and realized that we'd basically been entrapped seeing the bottom floor and how nice it was. And, they treat the senior citizens down on the bottom floor like kings and queens. But yeah, you stupid shit residents, you punk-ass kids, you go upstairs and pay your cheap rent and live in your shitty fucking rooms. And they had maids that were allegedly on work release. And I remember at one point, they would just let themselves in, whenever they wanted to come in and say your room's a mess, you need to clean it, and then they'd walk back out, and leave your door open at 7 in the morning. I once had a giant poster of Robert De Niro from Taxi Driver on the wall, and one day, one of the maids, so to speak, they never cleaned anything, they just, emptied the garbage cans, they were janitors, essentially, and one day I came home to find that a maid had chosen to enter my room and literally tear the poster off the wall and cram it in the garbage. I never understood why. I never got compensation or explanation. So yeah, fuck this place. But my point is, there was a while where I literally lived within actual viewing distance of the epicenter, essentially, of where all of the shit went down. But let's now talk about Kyle Rittenhouse and Sheridan Road. Okay, so let me see here. Is it up here? How far up do I need to go? Forgive me for a moment as I sort of do a little figuring out of some things here. Yeah, I'm just doing a little bit of thinking. I apologize. Right about here, I believe. Right here, yes, this'll do it. You have probably seen video, and if not, it's very easy to find, go look it up, of a group of people. It's no longer Shell Station, it's, I can't remember the name of it, it starts with an I think it's blue, it's not yellow and red. You will see a video of a massive confrontation happening right here. Right fucking here. You have a bunch of gun-wielding people over here on the north side, and you have a bunch of random people over here on the south side. And in this particular video, you'll see this gentleman here. This fella, right there. In fact, if I can, yes, you see, look at the house behind him, right there. And right there. Yeah, so there's plenty of video of this scene unfolding. What's happening in this scene, I'm not going to show any videos, I'm just going to narrate imagery, and I'll let you guys find out what you want to find out for yourselves. What's happening in this scene is the result of something that happened after the first night in Kenosha. By day 2, there were more protests, and as evening came, things started to become violent again, and at some point on Facebook, someone, I don't know who, made a call to arms, essentially, on Facebook. He basically posted, I am only speaking from paraphrased memory, I hate Facebook and have nothing to do with it, quite honestly, so I don't even know what was said. I only know from reports that it was essentially a call for, quote, patriots to gather at a given location, presumably this one, because this is where the video shows them all as having been at one point, a call for patriots to arm themselves and come to defend Kenosha's buildings. Now, that has been trashed. This decision has been decried as white supremacy and, intentional, militia violence and so forth. And, I guess technically it is a militia, yes. I'm not really sure about the white supremacist part. I'm not going to make any judgments one way or the other. I wasn't there. I did not see the Facebook posts. All I know is that the alleged reason why somebody made this thing on Facebook was to say, hey, look, this is my town, and I'm really kind of getting tired of watching it burn, and there's people just running loose in the streets, fucking literally throwing Molotovs. There was a dumpster that was just shoved out in the middle of the street that was set on fire. There were multiple, cars that were, out in intersections that were burning, in addition to the car lot that was set on fire, and, all this other shit. So I feel, at least, while I'm not defending these people because I don't know them, I have no affiliation with them, I think that it seems a fair bit of logic to say, well, I don't like what's happening to my town, and I'm going to arm myself and go out there and make sure that no one fucks with anything that I know or love or own or care about who's with me. Now, yeah, I admit that that's starting to get the situation a little bit escalated, to say the least, but it is what it is. People are burning the fucking streets. If you watch this video, this man here, Joseph Rosenbaum, is agitated to the point of near insanity. If you watch this video, this man is bouncing around like a fucking jackrabbit, trying multiple times to get through various crowd members. This is when he finally pushes through. There are multiple times where he's like behind people and kind of jumping and pushing his way through or whatever. And finally, at this point, you can't see them in this shot, but he is looking directly at multiple armed men, one of whom is wearing a green shirt, which, keep that in mind for the moment. He, at this point, is loudly proclaiming to the multiple armed men, and I quote, "Shoot me, nigga. Shoot me. Shoot me, nigga. which that I have to admit, for a white man surrounded by black people, seems like a strange thing to say to somebody who is protesting racial violence, but it is what it is, whatever. And it seems as if he's I cannot say what was in his mind, but the evidence would seem to suggest that he was very perturbed by the presence of the militia. The militia has also gotten flack, as have the police. The police have gotten a lot of flack because, and this seems incredibly evident, they did not do a good enough job. I am myself a supporter of police in general. I am not going to speak for any particular officers. I'm not going to speak for Kenosha. I can only go from my own personal experience. And yes, there are going to be people who say, well, you're white, so of course, white privilege, whatever. Look, all I can say is I've had a couple of negative dealings with the police. Those occasions were in which I was doing nothing wrong, but nonetheless, police gave me shit, and I had a hassle with them, and blah, blah, blah. But I have encountered the police. I was homeless for a while. I used to live in a van. Not down by the river, but I used to live in a van because I trusted the wrong person, and she wound up not being very reliable, and turned into whatever. It really didn't work out for multiple reasons that I almost think are funny now, because it's like, wow. Had I known that she was going to become that kind of person, I would have never gotten with her in the first place and trusted her enough to put all my money into an apartment that she fucked me over on. So anyway, it is what it is. I was homeless for a while. So, I mean, I was regularly having police knocking on my door in Kenosha or my windows, shining flashlights into my windows at 3 in the morning, and I'm homeless and near broke, donating plasma for extra scratch to be able to afford gas or some fast food from time to time, whatever. And I would have good cops who would just say, we feel for you, whatever, but, no offense, we got a call, you have to move on, we're sorry, that's just the law, etc. Here's the name of a shelter you can go to, blah, blah, blah. I had shitty cops who said, we need to search your car because, we have reason to believe that fine, search my car, I don't care, And nothing ever came of it, because I don't do drugs, I don't drink, whatever. I wasn't worried about it. But I had shitty cops. It happens, folks. There are shitty cops, and there are good cops. There are shitty people, and there are good people. There are people who put on the badge and believe in justice and honor and integrity and upholding the laws that we have as a country, recognizing that they have to be enforced for peace. Then there are, I readily admit, also an apparently way too high number of police who use that badge as an excuse to power trip and hurt and kill and abuse. I'm not denying any of that. Now, the point is, again, this is night 2, and we're having massive gatherings. When you see the video, there's probably 100 people here. I can't say for sure, but that's what it looks like. This woman here doesn't seem too concerned. I find it funny that when you see the video, her backpack says something like, more power to her, good for her. Her backpack says something like, if you need masks or anything, ask me. And I just find it ironic that she apparently forgot hers. But whatever. This is right in the midst of the COVID thing, so there are conspiracy theorists who say that, it's funny that, while COVID is going on, all these riots are allowed to take place, so that means the Democrats are, trying to thin out the population. No, it's the Republicans who are doing it, and whatever, blah, 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 blah. Let's get back to facts. This gas station, again, right here, let's go back, please. Thank you. This gas station. Can I speak, please? This gas station right here. The man Rosenbaum was standing right about here. I mean, again, at one point he's bouncing all over the place. You can watch the video, folks. He's going insane, trying to both bravely and stupidly confront a horde of armed militia. And it seems, though I'm just drawing conclusions, this is speculative, it seems as if he is just angry that they are there. I am of the belief, I'm not going to pick sides, but I'm of the belief that anywhere in any city, for any reason, if there are rioters in the streets, it seems only fair that if the police cannot keep them under control, militia are naturally going to, I think, feel validated in going out and helping to defend themselves, defend their city, etc. Tit for tat, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying either side is right or wrong. I'm just saying that, hey, look, one led to the other. It's common sense. That's how this works. Anyway, there's been, like I said, a lot of flack about the police because at one point, and this is true, this is fact, at one point the police, when things were still apparently peaceful, it's nighttime, but yet things are still apparently not yet going crazy on night 2. There is video of the police being shown. Kyle Rittenhouse is one of several people who are interviewed, and he expresses very clearly that, according to him, I can't speak for him, he is there to help preserve the peace. He doesn't like what's happening to this town. He joined the call. He saw the Facebook post. He decided, I am going to go there. I have a gun. I am armed, apparently trained. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to help my fellow, quote, patriots to defend against further violence and destruction. I am not saying that is true or untrue. I'm saying that's what he said. That is his claim, and that is what the Facebook people alleged was their goal. Now, I do find it a double standard that Facebook, everybody lashed out, oh, Facebook is so wrong for, allowing that to go. And it's like, well, I mean, the city's on fire, is that okay? So the city, it's okay that the city's burning, but it's not okay that someone wants to say, hey, let's get out and help the police put a stop to it. I don't get that logic, but whatever. And again, I'm trying to pull back, trying to not get too into this, but clearly I'm failing a little bit, so let's get back to facts. There is video of the police throwing water to Kyle Rittenhouse and fellow militia members and thanking them, saying, we really appreciate what you guys are doing. And I think and I think it's both fair and unfair that the police have gotten shit for that, because at that point, there is apparent peace. At that point, there are apparently no fires, no one's being shot, whatever. The peace is being, for lack of a better term, kept. And, the police are patrolling Sheridan Road. I believe this happened probably right up. I would have to view the video again to know where that particular event in question happened, but I'm guessing that it was right around this area. Most things that we're going to get into here happened in this area. But anyway, now, again, in the police's favor, I think there were probably decent guys who were just like, well, man, thank you for helping to support us. Thank you. It has to be encouraging when you are outnumbered and you are presumably trying to keep the police to have, other people come and say we're on your side. At the same time, militias are more or less illegal as far as I understand, so maybe they shouldn't have been encouraged. I'm not going to make a call on that. Again, I'll let everybody else decide. It is what it is. Facts are what they are. So, what happened, apparently, shortly after that video was taken, and again, I wanted to remind you of this. Our boy here, Joseph Rosenbaum, was seen in the full video yelling to several guys, all of whom were armed, one of whom, as I said, was in a green shirt. I think he also had a hat on. I can't quite recall. At one point in the video, the guy in the green shirt is even pulled back rather aggressively from another armed man who conspiracy theorists have pointed out is somebody who has shown up on they say that he's a, whatever it is, a crisis actor, whatever. That's so into fucking lizard people territory for me that I just don't even indulge in those studies. If you believe that, that's fine. That's not for me. Anyway, the fellow in the green shirt who's armed is rather sternly pulled back from another armed guy who's masked and also armed. He's pulled back. He's grabbed on the back by his shirt and pulled back and out of the picture frame during the video. But the point is, and I'm stressing this for a reason, Joseph is seen at one point more or less confronting, among several people, the guy in the green shirt. Now, what happens is this. The next thing chronologically that I am aware of, that I think anyone is aware of, I think it's fair to say that, unless video has surfaced that I have not been appraised of, is this. Let me turn around a little bit, get reoriented. We're back to north being north. Here is where we just were. This right here is the gas station in question. That's the roof of it. The next thing that happens, ignore that for now, that will come up very shortly. The next thing that happens is several blocks south, right here, near the intersection of Sheridan Road and 63rd Street. You see video. It looks different now. So let's go back to Street View. Or, as Google has interpreted it, ground view. No, Google, I'm trying to actually look at the street. Or again, ground view. Forgive me, folks, I'm doing this correctly, but Google's giving me some shit. Okay, is that perfectly on the blue line enough? Can we go to street view and not ground view? Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry, folks. Bear with me. I don't know what our problem is here. Let's back up and try it over here. Stupid. There we go. Thank you. If you follow the videos, chronologically speaking, within minutes, I think, the next thing that happens takes place right here. Right here. That right there is 63rd Street, and we are on Sheridan Road. Ironically, directly across the street from Kenosha Hospital. St. Catherine's Hospital. I was born there. Anyway. In the video, I can't line it up too well. The video was shot from roughly, no, that's too far. Roughly, if you've seen the video, you know exactly where I'm going with this. You know what I'm talking about. Forgive the blur. Again, that's Google Earth, just being Google Earth. You see, it's difficult. The video starts without context, and, well, to be fair, it ends without context as well. A shot, it's nighttime, but a shot appears to ring out over here in this general direction. This area here is full. This parking lot is full. There are cars all over the place, because why wouldn't there be? There's, rioters and protesters and so forth. There are also cars over here, but there's an open path in the middle, which would normally head towards the entrance to the auto service area right here. In this video, you see Kyle Rittenhouse running. It is, of course, proven to be Kyle Rittenhouse running. He is running from a man that was later confirmed, and you can tell if you look at the video and you look at the shirt that's pulled over his head, he's being chased. Kyle Rittenhouse is being chased by our boy, Joseph Rosenbaum. Joseph Rosenbaum, again, a shot when the video starts. There's a couple different videos. Basically, when all the videos start, there's a shot that rings out somewhere over here. No one's really quite sure what happened. We don't know what part, if any, that plays in what happened next. All we know is that there's a bang over here, and there seems to be evidence that it was, in fact, a gunshot. Right at the same time that that's happening, Kyle Rittenhouse flees in this direction, running, well armed, and Rosenbaum is chasing right after him, and when he gets right about here, he whips a bag of something, a little plastic baggie. Now, presumably, no one in their right mind would throw an empty plastic baggie at someone who they're running after. I don't know what damage he was, expecting to inflict. I have read that the baggie included tools. I have also read that it included fluid that would have been used as a Molotov. I can't confirm either. I'm just reciting what I've read. But anyway, Rosenbaum comes in, throws the plastic bag right at about here. There's some chaos and confusion. The people taking the video kind of jump back a little bit. And what you see, it's almost barely off camera, but Rittenhouse runs over here with Rosenbaum just behind him. They meet up for a second. There's like a second of a struggle. They come into contact, and there's a gunshot. From appearances, it looks as if, and here's why I told you to emphasize, to pay attention to the fact that while you don't see it in the photo, the guy that Rosenbaum was talking to at one point that was pulled backwards, over here just off camera, is wearing a green shirt. Kyle Rittenhouse himself was also wearing a green shirt. I don't think he was that day. So he was. But he's also wearing jeans. If you go back and watch the video where this took place, the fellow that's talking to Rosenbaum, while he's wearing a green shirt that looks alarmingly similar to the one that Kyle just had on, he's wearing shorts, not jeans. So there is possibility, and this will probably come out in trial, I don't know, this is speculation at this point, but there is debate as to whether Rosenbaum, maybe Kyle approached at some point, when Rosenbaum was distracted, whatever, words were exchanged, whatever, and it's possible, we don't know, that maybe Rosenbaum saw the green shirt and the hat and just assumed that Kyle Rittenhouse was the same guy with whom he had just been exchanging words right here at the gas station. He was not, though I myself, before actually looking very closely and noticing the shorts as opposed to the jeans, I thought it was the same person myself. So even I, as a viewer, looking at the two pieces of footage, I thought that Kyle Rittenhouse was here arguing with Rosenbaum and then being yanked back by another guy. No, it wasn't. It was a totally different guy. He just happened to be wearing the same color shirt as Rittenhouse. So it is entirely possible that what happened is that, I mean, we don't know what happened in between when at this stage, again, in the video, it's beyond evident that Rosenbaum is agitated beyond belief. He literally, I repeat, says to multiple armed men, shoot me, nigga, shoot me. Shoot me then, nigga. He is, you know, and again, this girl is amazingly nonplussed about the whole thing. You know, most people are, apparently, but this man is hot. He is ready to fucking go. And the militia are basically just kind of holding back and just being like, get out of here. Not to say that they're right, that's just basically what was happening. So, again, it is entirely possible, but I don't know. We'll sadly never know, probably. But Rittenhouse was being chased. The video shows Rittenhouse being chased, not inciting anything. That does not say that he didn't incite anything, but there is no video to show that he did. What we see, after that last video, the next thing we see chronologically is Rittenhouse running this way 3 blocks south, and Rosenbaum following after him, throwing a plastic bag, catching up with him right around here, the briefest of scuffles, and a gunshot. Rittenhouse then circles around this way, continuing to run, and then he stops and goes back to check on Rosenbaum. It is at this point he realizes that Rosenbaum is down. He starts to backpedal. He seems, you know, again, I won't say what's in his head because I don't know, but he is shown clearly getting on the phone, and it does seem audible to me, just barely. He's reported as having said to whoever he called, I think it was a friend of his, I just killed someone. Not in a celebratory way. He seems stunned. That's not too... It is what it is. Like I said, I'm not choosing sides on this. Much has been made of when you see the video. It's graphic, so some of you might not have seen it, but the video does, you know, whoever was over here filming then runs up after Rittenhouse starts to back off. In the confusion, I think the guy probably didn't even know that Rittenhouse was the guy who did the shooting. The cameraman runs this way, and either he or another bystander, a long-haired guy, takes off his shirt, a black shirt, and starts to wrap and try and tend to the wounds of Rosenbaum, who's now dying. He's beyond saving. And you know, somebody like a woman comes over from this direction. You don't see her really, but she's like, you know, what happened? Help him find his wounds, whatever. I think the dialogue is exchanged. Did you do this? Did you shoot him? And the guy who, you know, tries to tend to the wounds says, "Fuck no." You know, he's very clearly disturbed by what just happened, and they try to tend to Rosenbaum's wounds. They don't see any, save for a graze mark on the right side of his head, which they mistakenly believe to be the fatal wound, which it was not. He was shot in the back. Now, a lot of people are using that as evidence that Rittenhouse cowardly shot him in the back. Well, the video doesn't make it clear really either way. The video makes it clear. Again, it's you know, when you're watching the video, the angle is almost like this. You can barely see what happens, but you know you see a little bit more as far as the actual angle. You know, better than the angle I've got here. You see about this much, but you know, Rittenhouse and Rosenbaum are about that close to the edge of the camera. So they get into a scuffle right over here, and again, it's like a second long. You just see a couple silhouettes, and that's about as long as it takes. Just a little bit of grunting, and boom, shot goes off. One shot. Rittenhouse runs around this car again and seems scared. He looks over his shoulder, and then he comes back over and sees what happens. He does not appear to have shot. It's honestly, a forensic expert would have to weigh in on this, because I believe no one else other than a forensic expert would be able to have the knowledge and the analysis of the wounds and the trajectories and everything else to be able to make a call as to what actually happened. It is entirely possible that Rosenbaum tried to get the gun away, and in trying to wrench it away, turned, pivoted partially, and got shot in the back. I don't know. We just don't know. There's no way to know for sure. You know, the people who defend Rittenhouse say that he was shooting in self-defense, and the simple fact is, again, this is just a fact. Rittenhouse is never at any point in any footage shown as antagonizing anybody. There are 2 clips of him doing shootings, and in both of those clips, he is fleeing the people who he winds up shooting. They engage him and get shot. I'm not defending him. I'm saying that that's what the video shows. I don't know what happened before the video. None of us do. We may never. I don't know. We'll have to wait for the trial and everything else. But the simple fact is, Rittenhouse was engaged. Rosenbaum was shot in the back, and Rosenbaum died at the scene. He was as good as dead as soon as he hit the ground. Now, Rittenhouse then goes this way, disappears off camera. The clip basically ends right there to focus on, again, it's somewhat graphic, so you folks may not have seen it, but it's not hard to find. Just have to do a little digging. It's probably not on YouTube, but just it's out there. The footage, everything I'm describing, it's out there. You just gotta look. Rittenhouse goes this way. This is not on camera, but the proof, the evidence supports that Rittenhouse ran back into this road and starts heading back north. Whether he is trying to head back north to get back to that gas station where other militia may still be, or whether he's going towards where police are, which are, coincidentally, right there near, just on the opposite side of the gas station, at that intersection up there, is not known. What we do know, let me back out here just to make it a little bit more obvious for you guys so you can see. This is the auto mechanics place here at 63rd Street where Rosenbaum gets killed, right there. Rittenhouse goes this way. This is Sheridan Road. The video picks up right around here. Rittenhouse is running north, and you hear people start yelling, "Get him, that's him, get him, kick his ass," etc. Now, right here, at the exact, and I mean exact, intersection of 61st Street, let me correct myself, 61st Street and Sheridan Road, you see, I sadly forgot to bring up a photo of it, but you're welcome, you can go find the photos yourselves. They match up completely. Rittenhouse falls. He is being chased from again, roughly from here, makes it to about here. The cameras that are following him are following him from over here around the sidewalk. They run this way, and Rittenhouse slips right here, like almost right. I mean, I have to look at the video again, but he slips like almost right on this damn pothole. It's like this exact. You can see in the video, which again, if you want to see the uncut version, it's out there. Just look for it. But in the video, this is exactly where it happened. This is down to the square foot of where it happened. The video makes it clear that this house with that railing is right where it is in this image. This sign is lit up in the video. You can't see what it's for. This is actually a daycare center. Something known as the Armitage Academy is over here. I don't know if it's still there or not, but that's a building that used to be there. Right here is where Rittenhouse falls. And he is first... He's being chased by 6 or 8 people, if not more than that. He falls, tumbles. At first, he's facing north. He falls with, and kind of twists around, and he's facing north. As he struggles to get up, we have shooting victim number 2, Anthony Huber. Anthony Huber comes in from the west, runs and first of all, someone runs and jumps and basically stomps on Rittenhouse, and it's not entirely clear, but if you look a little bit close and listen to the sound, Rittenhouse tries to fire a shot to get the guy to stop, and that scares the guy off, but they miss. Rittenhouse misses shooting the guy, and the guy does not deliver that serious a blow, but someone comes from basically over here, runs towards Rittenhouse, jumps and attempts to kick him in the head, kind of does, and as he's doing so, again, Rittenhouse shoots upwards, and you can see the a little bit of a discharge from the gun, and the guy kind of trips a little bit this way and then runs off camera. I have no idea who he is. I don't think anyone does. I think he's just got away. Meanwhile, right as that's happening, Anthony Huber's coming more or less from this area over here, runs over, basically jumps and leaps upon Rittenhouse, who's still struggling to get up, and sort of, he doesn't hit him very hard, he kind of slips, but he basically tumbles and tries to crack his skateboard across Rittenhouse's head. As this is happening, when he then tries to get back to his feet, Rittenhouse flips around and blasts him. And Anthony Huber falls over dead as a doornail, right there. Just dead. Then, as Rittenhouse is still, pivoting now to face the south and try to get up, 2 men come charging at him continuing, despite everything that's just happened, 2 men continue charging him. One is over here. They're almost parallel to each other. One's on the west, one's on the east. And the fellow on the east is our third person who was shot here. Gage, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Gage Grosskreutz. Gage, you have to look at the video several times. You might have to put it in slow motion. But Gage is already running towards Rittenhouse when Rittenhouse fires the shot that kills Huber. That shot startles both Gage and the other guy who were running parallel to him. Once that happens, they both cringe. They both flinch. They both fall back a couple feet, and then Gage, who by this point clearly has a pistol in his hand, aiming at Rittenhouse, lunges at him again. Now, I have seen footage that is cut in such a way to where the video happens to freeze right there in that second where Gage makes his second lunge. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I honestly think it may just actually be just a video, error, whatever. But the point is, the full video, like I said, is out there. I encourage all of you to go out there and educate yourselves, watch the video, come to your own conclusions. But the fact is, after Rittenhouse shoots and kills Huber, Gage is running at him, stops, jumps back, lurches back because of the shot, which understandably startles him. But then, after just a second, lunges directly towards Rittenhouse again, who at this point is still sitting on his ass. Gage raises his hand with the gun in his hand, and it's at that point that Rittenhouse shoots that hand and blows off. If you've seen the pictures, you know this. If you haven't, well, here's your information. He blows off pretty much the entirety of the upper wrist, to the lower shoulder. He basically blows out the inside of Gage's elbow. Just tears it away. It's at that point that Gage then runs away asking for a medic. Meanwhile, the other person who ran towards Rittenhouse with Gage immediately stops, holds up his hands, and Rittenhouse gets up and does not fire another shot. That is the end of the shooting. Rittenhouse gets up, wields the gun, around, like, stay the hell away from me. Over here, at the same time, Huber, who again is laying dead, is about to be tended to by a concerned citizen who, again, when Rittenhouse turns towards him, the citizen, briefly, he's masked, you don't know who he is, he just briefly raises his hands, I no beef, man, I'm not trying to fuck with you. When Rittenhouse sees that he is no longer being assaulted, or whatever, if you want to take the other tack, you can say whatever, justice being applied upon him, whatever, however you want to look at it. The point is, Rittenhouse sees that no one else is trying to get him, and it's at that point that he stands up, starts walking back north. There's a lot of misunderstanding here. He gets to about this point, and he stops and turns, and the people have misconstrued that he fires into the crowd. No, he does not. He stops and turns because there's shooting heard down here somewhere. You watch the video, you listen to the sounds. Rittenhouse does not, and it's out there. The facts are out there. He does not fire again. He does not stop and turn and fire randomly to the south. He stops and looks, presumably to see that he's not being fired upon. And then when he sees that he's not, he kind of slowly pivots back north again. And at that point, he literally marches straight to the next intersection, 60th Street, with his hands in the air, giving himself up. Meanwhile, much of the, I think the most famous camera footage, the guy runs along the sidewalk here. You can see these Shady Lawn apartments as he does so. Let me scroll in that direction. You will recognize this area back there. Again, I don't have the photos. I could have, and I apologize that I didn't. I don't know why I didn't prepare them so you could see all these things match up. But trust me, just watch the video. You'll see that this is all completely. This is 100% where this took place. The cameraman kind of wanders around in there, and there's a lot of yelling. He just shot somebody. He just shot somebody. Which, yes, that's very true. For his part, Rittenhouse just kind of walks down the median. He goes past this check and go right there. I think that's also, there's a Boost Mobile store he also goes past. I think at that point they're both boarded up, but the camera shows him walking past there. He's in the middle of the road, but he walks past these businesses, and as he approaches, the gas station there still has tons of people. I don't know, well, maybe not tons, but there's still a lot of people around. You can see the church there in the background in the footage. And over here at the intersection are a bunch of cops who, I'll just come out and say it, I don't know what they're doing. They seem to be just sitting there. They do seem to go into some kind of action, as by the time that Rittenhouse gets about right here, one of the vehicles starts to head south, probably because they saw what happened and they see a guy heading towards them, an armed man. He's dropped his arms, his weapon is to his side, and he has his arms up in the air, and he approaches the police, and at one point, it's hard to say if they're actually calling to Rittenhouse or just in general, but you hear someone announce, "Get out of the road." Rittenhouse then heads over this way to the corner, where another cop car is parked. There are 3 or 4 police vehicles in this intersection right here, probably to monitor the activity that was happening over here. At one point, Rittenhouse goes over here to the corner, and there's a cop car parked right there, and he literally... It seems readily apparent that Rittenhouse is trying to tell the cops what happened and give himself up. He looks like he's very clearly trying to say, look, this just took place. He is seen leaning into the passenger side of the cop's car, and he immediately pulls back. Like, whoa, he recoils. Which suggests to me, and this is again just speculation, it seems to me like the cop probably yelled, "Get the fuck out of here," or something very close to that extent. Rittenhouse leans in for just a second and then immediately withdraws. As in, he was told, get out of here. Which, if that's the case, that appears to be what he did. So, just to recap, if Google Earth doesn't crash on me again, in somewhat northerly, getting towards the north end of Kenosha, not a bad neighborhood, Jacob Blake is shot. Protests start to break out across the city, but for some reason, Sheridan Road, probably again because that is host to all of the municipal areas in here, the courthouse, the juvenile court, the police department, whatever. Sheridan Road becomes a hotbed. This area in particular, this series of blocks. This is where a lot of the rioting takes place. This is, again, where the car lot was set on fire. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm way too far north. Yes, right there's the car lot that was set on fire. Right there is Ruther High School, which was graffitied. Right there is the Innocent Dinosaur Discovery Museum that has nothing to do with anything. This park here, Civic Park, is it called? Yes, Civic Center Park. We used to, in high school, that's where all the smokers, a lot of people would just gather out there and hang out, during breaks between classes and so forth. And then over here you have the courts and the police department and so forth over here, or at least to my memory it was. They might have changed it around a little bit, but this is all, as you see, this is all public services. Rittenhouse and the militia, a posse, whatever you want to call them, appear to have gathered, at least at one point, right there under the gas station. That's the gas station roof. Rosenbaum confronts the militia very clearly in a very extremely agitated state between both the militia and the crowd behind Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum is the only person who seems to be losing his mind. I'm just calling it as I see it, no pun intended. Then the next footage we see is several blocks down, 63rd Street and Sheridan Road. We're here at this auto mechanics place. Rittenhouse is seen fleeing from Rosenbaum. They come here. They get around here where there's a brief altercation, struggle. Rosenbaum is shot. Rittenhouse goes around, takes a look, seems to kind of freak out a little bit, gets on the phone immediately, calls, apparently, again, his friend, says, "I've just killed someone," then starts running back this way. Again, we don't yet know if he's trying to run back to the safety of the militia, the safety of the police. We don't know if he's running up there to turn himself in. We don't know. We just know that he's running, and right about here, somewhere right about here, the next set of footage starts. It's probably 30 seconds to a minute between the two shots of him firing at people. Right around here is where you see, a group of people chasing after him, saying, "Get that guy, kick his ass, beat him down," etc. Rittenhouse gets about half a block, falls at the exact intersection of 61st Street and Sheridan Road, And, all I can say is, again, he is descended upon by several people, and he fires to stop them from attacking him. That's all I can say. I'm not going to say that he shot them out of cold blood, because that is not what I see. I'm not defending Rittenhouse as a person. I don't know him. I'm trying not to take sides. I'm saying that the video shows a man running from a mob. Whether right or wrong, the mob has chosen to descend upon him, and he fires at them to stop them from assaulting him. He kills one in the process, wounds another, and everyone spreads out. It is then that he starts to walk about that far. Here's some shots coming down here, turns around. Again, he does not fire. People misconstrue that he turns around and fires. He doesn't. Watch the video. When he feels that he's safe, apparently, he then turns and resumes his walk right up here to the end of the road. It is right here where we last see him, where the police then start to go down here to deal with the situation, and he is apparently, from what it looks like on the video, told to fuck off and go away. Then, the next thing we know is that Rittenhouse, you will hear that Rittenhouse fled the state to evade justice. Rittenhouse drove 20 minutes back home to Antioch. I mean, I am going to get his back on this one, because he looks to have there's visual evidence of him going straight to the police immediately after the shootings, and they appear to want nothing to do with him, and we don't know what was said. He could have very well said, dude, I just killed someone, I'm involved, whatever, and maybe the cop just said, fuck off. I don't know. I don't know, but the whole thing about he fled from justice, no, he went home. Yes, he did cross state lines, just like I myself used to cross state lines all the time, to go down south to see my, hang on a second, my cat is actually, my cat has jumped up to greet me, so you might hear her purring. Hello, baby. Yes, I love cats. Yes, I used to cross state lines constantly to see my relatives in Zion. If you've watched some of my other videos, I saw a horrible accident that happened not too far from Waukegan, down around in this area, during a visit to Chuck E. Cheese. I have gone to Gurney Mills and Six Flags Great America Theme Park that are both right around here a multitude of times. I crossed state lines to do this. It's like, again, depending on what source you get it from, you will hear people who just flamingly, vociferously, fervently, just aggressively, he crossed state lines, he fled Wisconsin. Well, yeah, because after trying to turn himself in and not getting anywhere with it, he went back home. He went home to Antioch, which is just south of Illinois. Yeah, he crossed state lines to do it, but I guess he probably had to, because that's where he lives. Okay, baby, okay. So there you have it. That's the story. Rittenhouse was picked up, I believe, from his home. I don't recall reading that there was any resistance whatsoever. I think I'm incorrect. I don't even think that he was picked up at home. I believe I've read that he turned himself in. Tried to turn himself in over here in Kenosha, and then that didn't work, so then I think he went back to Antioch and turned himself in there. So, whether I'm wrong or not, that's what I just read recently, that he turned himself in. So, I mean, the guy was not... I'll put it this way. I will just put it this way. I will just recite the facts. People who don't like Rittenhouse seem to not like him because he's a Trump supporter, and people, whatever, you can like him or dislike him, but it seems that in this particular political climate that we're living in, if you are a supporter of one side of the political spectrum, the other side considers you the enemy and a villain and so forth. And as a result, this is just fact, for better or worse, right or wrong, the left, the Democrat side, condemns Rittenhouse and basically uses the fact that he's a Trump supporter as some kind of ammunition against why he's a villain. Immediately after this all broke out, a lot of the stories were like, oh my God, here's footage of Rittenhouse having attended a Trump rally. I'm not really sure why that's relevant. If he had attended a Biden rally, I'm not sure why that would have been relevant. But that's been used against him. I guess the link is that he surely must be a white supremacist. As it turns out, he seems to just have a real hard-on for the police. He seems to be someone who just, always wanted to be a police officer, feels, for whatever reason, strongly in favor of the police, and according to his testimony and what evidence we do have, it seems as if that was backed up by his actions. It seems as if there is no... I'm not aware. I've looked. I'm not aware of any evidence that links him to any extremist group or fringe group. In his interviews, he did not say anything racist or overly aggressive. He said that he was there to help the city defend itself. That's all I know. It could come out that that's all totally wrong, but that's what I know thus far based on the evidence that's available. If you know otherwise, feel free to, say so in the comments. I'm going to, kind of be paying some attention to the comments and making sure that people don't use it just as grounds for a bunch of political warring bullshit. But by all means, I have no dog in this fight, it is what it is. Facts are what they are. I believe what I saw with my own eyes. I saw a man fleeing twice and, defending himself twice. That is how I view it. I do not see someone deliberately engaging in violence. I do not see someone openly inviting violence. I do not see someone, and again, I have not, I wasn't there. I don't know what transpired in between the handful of clips. I don't know. I don't know what was in Rittenhouse's heart. I don't know what was in the hearts of the people who killed him. The people who he killed. But before I end this, I want to talk about that. Now, some of you will know this, some of you won't. Joseph Rosenbaum, for whatever it's worth, is a convicted child molester. He served prison time. He was a registered sex offender, and his victims ranged between 9 to 11 years old. Am I saying that he deserved to be killed for that? No, that can be debated. I'm not going to debate it. I'm not saying that that's relevant to the events of that night, but in vilifying Rittenhouse, as the media has, I've noticed that there has been a large slant towards not talking about these issues. If Rittenhouse is to be blamed for what he did because he's a Trump supporter, I think it's fair to look at the background of the other people that were involved in the altercations and look at what their past reveal. And as I just pointed out, and this is fact, you're welcome to look it up yourself. In fact, I think the site may... Yes, here we go. You can view his criminal record. You can see the image. There's his mugshot, so on and so forth. And, Wisconsin Department of Corrections Sex Offender Registry. Oh, this could be faked. Well, yeah, it can, but it's not. Look it up. Don't be stupid. This man, this very agitated guy who was looking to start trouble, from what I could tell. That does not mean that has anything to do with his criminal past, but the fact is, this guy had a criminal past. I think it's worth noting that, he was a man of apparently quite questionable judgment and impulse control. Meanwhile, I'm not trying to drag anyone through the mud. I'm trying to state facts as they are. Anthony Huber, the one who hit Rittenhouse with a skateboard and was shot dead immediately thereafter. Everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but Kenosha put up monuments for him, celebrated him. There's a video of YouTube, on YouTube of his girlfriend saying, well, he was a skater, he was great, he was cool, he was a nice guy, etc. Well, here's his rap sheet. We have reckless endangering, use of a dangerous weapon, domestic abuse, strangulation and suffocation, another count of domestic abuse, false imprisonment, another case of domestic abuse, another case of use of a dangerous weapon, battery, another case of domestic... People, you can see this yourself. You can see this yourself. He's guilty left and right. He was labeled a habitual offender because of this. Again, if you're curious about where to find this, I know exactly what this is. Wisconsin Court Access. This is CCAP. I don't know if you'll get the same result if you look at this from another city or whatever. Maybe it's just because I'm, not far from the area. But, just if you don't get there, go online and Google CCAP. Period. Just those, not with the period. Just CCAP. If this page, Wisconsin Court Access, does not come up, then just type Wisconsin, CCAP. CCAP. That is the public court records of Wisconsin. That is exactly what this page is. It will bring you to a site that says, I agree that by using this site, I will not use anything, improperly, etc., legalese, blah, blah, blah. You say, yes, I agree. Then you have the option to type in the first and last or middle name, whatever, birth dates, any pertinent information to look up whomever you want. And if that person is guilty of any crimes in Wisconsin that he had been convicted for or charged with or whatever, it will show up. And that is exactly what this page is. So if anyone wants to say that this page is fake, I can tell you exactly how to find it and say that, no, you're an idiot. It's readily available, and here's how you can go find it yourself. So it doesn't look exactly like this. It looks like that. It just does not have this on the side. This was added to show you his mugshots and to show you what he looked like on the night of the shooting. This obviously does not appear on his court page. But yeah, Anthony Huber, who, again, by all means, feel free. Look him up on YouTube or online or whatever, and you will hear him described as a hero and multiple other things. I'm just going to shrug and say, again, I call it like I see it. I don't care. I'd be saying the same thing if this were the shooter. I'm not going to defend somebody who's got a rap sheet like this. This isn't a hero. Multiple, how many domestic abuses do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 cases, or 6. We have 6 cases of fucking domestic abuse. Disorderly conduct, 1, 2, 2 cases of disorderly conduct, 2 cases of, 4 cases of using a dangerous weapon, recklessly endangering safety, suffocation and strangulation, false imprisonment. That means that you don't, I think the story was he held his family at gunpoint and wouldn't let them leave. If I recall correctly, I think it was his own sister that he was strangling. I could be wrong. I don't care. The point is, again, look, I'm not saying that his murder was deserved. There will be people who say that, and that's fine. I'm not trying to gaslight or anything like that. I'm just simply saying, again, if we're going to look at Rittenhouse, I would happily tell you if Rittenhouse had any of this shit in his background. He doesn't. I've looked. As far as I know, and absolutely feel welcome to correct me and put it in the comments. If Rittenhouse has a criminal background, if he was ever arrested for anything before this, put it up. He wasn't supposed to cross state lines with a gun. I don't think that he was even legally allowed to own the gun. I don't think. I'm not familiar with gun laws. I don't have one myself. I just don't. It's not a political thing. I just don't have one. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying that, Rittenhouse is great and perfect, and these other guys, because they were felons, which they were, I'm sorry, they were, of some pretty fucking serious shit, no less. I find it a little bit odd that the media wants to vilify and only focus on the fact that, Rittenhouse was a Trump fan and a vigilante and he crossed state lines and oh my God, and yet they don't want to say anything about the fact that, well, one of the guys he shot was a sexual predator, 5-time, molester, masturbator and so forth. I'm not going to go read all the details yourself. I'm not going to get into it. Of 9 to 11-year-old boys. And the other guy over here had a crazed past of relentlessly, apparently, suffocating, attacking, waving his gun around, beating people, domestic abuse, blah, 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 blah. This is not little shit, people. So I mean, if we're going to say, oh, Rittenhouse is evil, well, okay, so what do we say about the guy who's got all this shit going on? So again, it's just very irritating when you look at videos that say, again, he was a hero because he tried to stop Rittenhouse. No, that doesn't make him a hero. It's just, I don't know. It's I mean, again, when you have a bunch of videos that say absolutely nothing about this, and only glorify the guy as, you know, a martyr who tried to do the right thing and everything like that, that, you know, some of that may partially be true, but it is a lie of omission to not let you know that this person had an extensive criminal background. Same with Rosenbaum. You know, it is dishonest. It lacks a great deal of integrity to present the news in such a one-sided way that presents one person as exclusively the guilty party, especially when, in fact, again, it is what it is. The video evidence makes it look as if he's not trying to hurt anybody. He's trying to get away from people. But regardless of all that, the simple fact is, to my knowledge, Rittenhouse doesn't have anything of a criminal history like this. So again, I'm not saying these guys are wrong and Rittenhouse is right. I'm saying it is disingenuous and manipulative of the media to only let you hear their version of events and not share the full, you know, focus of the facts with you. So that's why I've done what I could. Meanwhile, the last one here, Grosskreutz, he has a history of waving his gun around rather recklessly. He's the one who got shot in his gun arm and blew off half of his arm when he was trying to apparently shoot Rittenhouse. I say that because, and I don't have the page loaded right now, I'm not going to bother because there's not a whole lot. I'll be objective, I'll be fair. I have no dog in this fight. I don't care who any of these people are. I care that any of this bullshit happened in the first place. That's where my interest level stops in terms of who's right, who's wrong, whatever. I don't really particularly care which person did what, you know, in terms of, you know, whatever. This guy I'm looking at right now could have been the shooter, and I'd be you know, giving him some defense. Whereas if Rittenhouse were the one who is this guy right here, I'd be, you know, anyway, I know what I'm saying. It's coming out wrong. My point is, like I'm saying, I don't get anything. I'm not, you know, a paid spokesman for any of these people. I don't know any of them. I don't give a shit about any of them. But the sheer point is, two of them are severe fucking felons. And then this guy here, like I said, I will be objective. He does not have very much of a criminal history. Out of the three, out of the three who were shot, he is by far the most decent guy in terms of, you know, past criminal behavior. That said, he has gotten at least one charge. I think it's possible to, but I want to say not. I think it's just the one. But he was charged with waving around a gun when he was drunk. I don't know the full details. I don't know if he threatened somebody with it. I believe it was considered a misdemeanor, which, to be honest, perfectly shocks me. I would think that if you're drunk and waving around a gun, that would be a felony no matter where you were or who you are, but it is what it is. Point is, you know, I don't like the fact that this guy said, well, you know, I believe he was quoted as saying that, you know, his only regret is that he wished that he, you know, unloaded his gun on Rittenhouse, which, again, given the evidence I myself have been privy to, I don't really see how Rittenhouse deserves to be executed by a random guy on the street running around with a gun. And he very much loves his gun, which is fine. I'm not saying anything about gun lovers, but in the interview I read with him, he mentions owning a gun, and I'm legally allowed to carry it. I'm allowed to carry it. And it's my gun. It was okay, and I was allowed to. He wasn't allowed to have his, but I was allowed to have mine. And he just went on like 6 different times talking about his great gun and how proud he is to own it, and blah blah. And whatever, that's fine. You know, he said, I was just out there to, you know, to help people and blah blah blah. And I just find it funny. That's essentially the same thing Rittenhouse said. You know, so again, I'm not drawing sides. I'm just pointing out that this guy, you know, went armed, which is fine. If I went out there and I had a gun and I was legally allowed to carry, I too would have brought my gun. I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just saying that this guy has been in trouble for having gotten drunk and wielded a gun while doing so in some capacity that got him in trouble with the law. Other than that, as far as I know, he's clean. So, you guys, again, can all make up your own judgments. This is not to say who's right or wrong. Again, my feeling on the whole thing, as I've said from the beginning, as a Kenosha resident, as someone who spent his whole life there, essentially, all the way up until he was essentially 30 years old, I hate that any of it happened. Businesses burn, people get hurt, people get killed. And again, for what? What has any of this solved? Where are we now? What good has any of this done? You know? Nothing. You know? And now my hometown is forever tainted by this. By all of it. From beginning to end. All of it. Everybody involved. And that sucks. It's just a real shame to see that. To see, you know, place that you love, the place that bore you and raised you, you know. Just to see it like this. It's like, why? You know, just, this is so stupid, you know. This whole thing is just so stupid. We're living in really fucking stupid times. I think we can all agree on that, right? We're living in some really fucking stupid times. So on that positive note, I'm going to wrap this up. 3 hours. I apologize for the length, but I hope that at the very least, if I haven't defended, and I haven't meant to offend anybody, if I have, look, I apologize. That wasn't the intention. I've just been trying to remain neutral while expressing my opinion as best as I can without being overly critical of one side or the other. And I've probably failed at that, but again, I have to just, like I said, my screen names, I call them like I see them. I'm just, all I can do is just call it literally as I see it. And what it is what it is. It is what it is. So, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope at the very least you have been, entertained is probably the wrong word, but I hope that you have found some educational value. You found some interest. You have found, maybe learned some things you didn't already know. I hope that at the very least, if you take anything from this, it's this. Please, go look into this case yourself. Don't just let the media, and again, I know that sounds paranoid, I know that you're usually hearing that from a bunch of the fucking tinfoil hat people. I'm just saying pure practical common sense. Don't just let anchors and talking heads behind a desk tell you what the truth is, what's real, how you should feel. Don't let them just tell you one side of the story. Look into it yourself. Look into this yourself. Pour over all the details that are out there. Go beyond just YouTube. You know, go beyond your comfort zone. If you're used to using one particular website or source or whatever for your information, go to other ones. Try and compare various stories. Try and compare various details. Educate yourself. You know, get a well-rounded perception of what actually took place, and make your own informed decision as to what you think was right, who you think was wrong, what should have happened, what shouldn't have happened, whatever. Don't just, and I'm not saying that anyone who's watching this is, but do not choose to be ignorant. Don't fall into the trap. Don't let politics dictate your groupthink. Don't let, you know, the right and the left use shit like this, which they do and which they are, as a way to manipulate you into joining one side or the other. Don't fall for it. You know, be independent. Be a thinker. You know, go, you know, knowledge is power, you know? Just look this stuff up yourself. Educate yourself. Look at the videos. Go find the uncut footage. Go beyond just the top level of who these people were, why these people did what they did, why everything happened the way it did, you know? And what else can I say other than be good to each other, you know? We can do better than this. All of us. Soapbox over. I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least, you know, again, got some information about it. I hope that you are at least a little bit more familiar with just kind of the layout of the land, so to speak. And if you have, and you don't hate me for anything I've said, hey, that's all I can ask. And if you do, I apologize. Not my goal, but I can only be myself. So, that's it, folks. I hope you have a good day. I hope everything's good for you and yours. You know, take care of yourselves during the lockdown and everything else. And that's it for this one. I'll see you guys later.